And good evening, everyone. This is Mariners baseball. As the Mariners are they are home, but they are coming off of a 1-3 against the Minnesota Twins, happened in a very disappointing fashion. But before we get into that, and I say that quite a bit, Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm all right, man. I appreciate being on, and kind of an interesting series. I would say that the buzz is a little downtrodden, considering that the Mariners returned off a pretty bad road trip, only to stumble against the Minnesota Twins, and the U.S. men's national team crashed out at Copa America, and now we got the Baltimore Orioles in town. You know what I mean? So it's like, man, it almost seems like when it rains, it pours. But that being said, I actually think this is actually a very good series for the Mariners. The Orioles themselves kind of come in skidding a little bit, only winning 4 out of their last 10, including getting swept by the Houston Astros and losing 2 out of 3 to Cleveland, like the Mariners did. But over the last series, they did take 3 of 4 in Texas. So who knows if that means they're righting the ship. It almost seems like the Orioles and the Mariners are kind of in the same boat right now.
It really does. And to add more to it, I just found out that my 7th grade PE teacher just retired. And I learned this from volunteering at a middle school summer camp. I was doing they're doing games and dodgeball, and I was coaching and facilitating it as a volunteer, along with my 7th grade teacher who actually runs the show. The school's really close by. It was a school I went to when I was in middle school. But the downside of my PE teacher retiring is she didn't really get a proper exit. She was saying she was retired. Usually when teachers retire, especially they've been there for so long, they didn't even say goodbye or give her any kind of a farewell kind of thing. And she was unfortunate. Nothing.
No goal to watch. Nothing. It's
no, and here's the thing: she was not a popular type of teacher. But the thing was, I respected her. Now, I didn't really like her much either. And I think it was mostly because I bought into the hype that people made her worse than she really is. When we're kids, we always make that teacher look really bad. And then once we get older, we're like, oh, I get it. She was one of those types. She wasn't a fun PE teacher, but she really stressed the importance of conditioning and discipline. But of course, all the students were like, oh, she's a meanie and she's a really boring teacher. All she does is make us do push-ups and sit-ups. But that's the job of the PE teacher, is to do that. But PE teachers these days, they are all about pleasing the students, having them play games rather than working on body conditioning. And that's why she got the exit she got, because I guess the administrators, they bought into what the kids said a little bit too much. So not only do the kids not respect her, but even now the higher ups didn't even respect her. So I guess in some ways she got canceled in some ways on her way out. And a teacher like her, she would not be around in today's teaching. She just happened to be grandfathered in. But I'm not going to say the name, but I'm going to wish her the very best of luck for the rest of her life, and congratulations to her retirement. I mean, if the school is not going to give her any kind of a proper farewell, I'll do it, since we actually had a pretty good connection. She actually respected me because I put in the work, while all the other kids are complaining oh, she's making us do push-ups and run around the track. And I'm like, no, it's good exercise. That's what we need. And I think it's mostly because recesses were taken away after elementary school, so that's the real venting. And then PE is the only way to, quote, have fun. But then when you have a teacher that actually wants you to practice PE, she's going to get that kind of reputation, unfortunately, which is very unfair, but it's the way it is.
I had a PE teacher in high school who was really hardcore about, sub 6-minute miles. We had to run a mile in under 6 minutes. And of course, this was the 90s, and most every high school kid at that point was stoned out of their gourd. So running a sub 6-minute mile was out of the question. And if we didn't, then we'd have to do a whole bunch of calisthenics. And she was this hardcore, I hate to use this term, but she really was. She was this hardcore lesbian that really was into volleyball. And so we were either doing hardcore calisthenics or we were playing volleyball, and that was pretty much it. But the crazy thing, the crazy thing is like in that PE class, I ended up dropping 15 pounds and putting on I actually ended up with a 6-pack because of all the calisthenics. So,
and that's the type of PE teacher we need, is the ones that stress about body conditioning, and it doesn't seem like that's the case. But anyways, we're getting a bit too ahead of we're getting a bit off topic. But yes,
we are.
But yes, I want to say, I'll say it again. Shout out to my 7th grade PE teacher. Good luck on your retirement and congratulations. And hopefully someone else will fill your shoes as best they possibly can. But we got a game to cover. We got George Kirby going to be on the mound, arguably the best pitcher on the Mariners rotation aside from Logan Gilbert. That's really more of an up to debate kind of thing. And they are going up against, what's his name? They're going up against Grayson Rodriguez, who's 9-3 with a 3.72. He does have a high walk rate, so maybe the Mariners, if they can be disciplined, they can get some walks out of it.
Yeah, but it's gonna, it's like pretty much every single game, it's all gonna come down to not just getting on base, but also coming up with some base hits every once in a while, and not having those huge left on base numbers or those obscene splits with runners in scoring positions. So it's going to require not just working the count and trying to get into Baltimore's bullpen, but also doing damage when they're the opportune time, when there's going to be an opportune time to do it. Although, by the way, Zebi Zavala's contract was picked up again by AAA Tacoma. Jonathan Diaz gets sent back down. And Julio Rodriguez, by the way, is now batting 7th tonight, as he should.
I saw that. I personally would have gone to 5 just based on the Scott Service analytics. He does rake in the 5 spot, so I would have done that, but whatever.
Well, I that's the thing. It's like he's earned this drop in the lineup for, and we've talked about Julio ad nauseum. It's the fact that, for everything that Julio stands for as the face of the franchise, and his production just doesn't match. And he's been, I hate to say this, bad for as long as he's been. I mean, I think he still only has 13 extra base hits. It's unacceptable at this point of the year. And so a drop down to 7 makes a ton of sense.
And he did post on his Instagram that he was having a nice little party that JP Crawford hosted. I don't know what it was. I heard it was Josh Rojas's birthday, but personally, I think the timing of posting that was really bad, because the perception is you're throwing a party when you lose 4 series in a row, and meanwhile, Houston is literally right on your asses.
Well, I don't know, man. Like like that's the thing. It's like if this was like Julio Rodriguez throwing himself a birthday party and like the entire city of Seattle was celebrating with it, I probably would agree with you. But this is another teammate's birthday. You know what I mean? Where the continuity is important. Like that to me, that shows that there's team chemistry, and you have teammates willing to show up to another teammate's birthday party. I think that's okay. But that being said, it's like I'd rather see him posting Instagram pictures or videos of him in the batting cage taking swings and trying to get that pull side power back.
At least stage it. At least at this point, he's better off just like going to a cage for 2 seconds, taking a picture and a selfie, and people will buy into that. Maybe I won't as much, but everyone else will be like, all right, he's at least somewhat serious about doing workouts. Because at least Kelnick, he would post himself doing all these workouts.
Yeah, fool me, man. Lie to me a little bit. Just show me that you're trying to improve on some level. Please just don't make me go on my show every single week and just talk trash about you, because I'm tired of talking about Julio Rodriguez and his lack of his ability to hit a fastball. I would like to see results, and so I can literally stop talking about Julio Rodriguez. But
we're all tired of it. And let's be honest, like, on Twitter, we're tired of criticizing the Mariners because, 1, they're sucking, and 2, it annoys other Mariner fans, making them think that we're not the true fans being negative. So we absolutely want the Mariners to be good, so we don't have to criticize.
Well, the cool part is yesterday that I guess word came out of Chicago that the Cubs are now open for sale as a legit seller, and that opens up a tremendous amount of possibility for the Mariners, not just Cody Bellinger, but Happ, Seiya Suzuki.
The market does seem open.
and the other guy who seems like a complete Mariner. God, why can't I think of his name right now?
Well, while you think of that name, it's very disappointing, though, for the Cubs that they hired and went all in on Craig Counsell, re-upped Cody Bellinger, and they're still not good. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, 39-46 at this point. Nico Horner. A guy like Nico Horner who just kind of seems like, when you look at his numbers this year and you're kind of like, yeah, I guess that sounds like a Mariner. The good news about Nico Horner is that dude seems to get on base, but when you're looking at slugging and OPS and power peripherals, it's just not there. The stolen bases are definitely there, but there's a lot of things. There's a lot of good things about the Chicago Cubs that would make sense.
I have a question. How about this? And you can either take this seriously or not seriously. How about Tim Anderson? I could see the freezing there. Yeah, exactly. I think that's he's it's almost like you might as well keep JP Crawford if you're going to get Tim Anderson at that point.
So, Tim Anderson, in 2019, or like if we're talking about that, like basically 2018 to 2020 Tim Anderson, where you're getting, specifically, 2019, 2020, when you're getting a guy who was hitting over 300 with basically a 360 OBP and was, an 865 OPS guy. Yeah, probably. But the Tim Anderson that we saw last year in Chicago with a 61 OPS plus, and this year in Miami through 65 games. Why would you want to trade for a guy who is literally going to be a DFA candidate within a week? And you can just pick him up off the scrap heap if you really want.
Sounds about right. And before the game starts, let's get into these comments. We've got someone found me through a South Korea versus Vietnam video. Interesting. Daniel, his usual what's up, and he is a member. And if you guys would like to join the membership, $5 a month. Christian, the Cubs suck. Yep, I'm sorry. Yep. I don't have any softball highlights. Sorry. Some good news. Looks like Jays just got a win over the Stros. Yeah, we can thank them for that. We will hate them by Friday, though. You love the negative reinforcement. I only rag on things I truly care about. I am critical of my teams more than opposing fans, which is true. That is all of us. And looks like we've got the first pitch on the way. And the pitch is going to be brought to you by SeatGeek. Use Rooftop Sports for your $20 off. And here's the pitch to Gunnar Henderson. And that is going to be a ball. Usually that would have been a strike. But we are underway here at T-Mobile Park. Gunnar Henderson, I believe, got called into the home run derby. He is absolutely on fire this year. 26 home runs, and he's a leadoff hitter. Yeah, and here is the pitch. And a swing and a miss, strike one. He could be the possible new face of the franchise. He is following the ropes of Adam Jones and the great Cal Ripken Jr., known as the Iron Man. 2,632 consecutive games. The 1-1. And that is going to be fouled back, and we're already on strike two on Gunnar Henderson. And one thing I will always love about...
Why do you call him Gunnar? His name is Gunnar.
Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson. Yeah. Gunnar Henderson. The gun. Gunnar. When in doubt, just think of guns.
Yeah, no shit, Emmett. Yeah, keep Julio away from the derby. Yeah, no doubt.
Oh, please, yes. Keep him from the All-Star weekend of All-Star anything. 1-2. Up high for a ball. Like honestly... Yeah. I just want the one All-Star, and I want that to be Gilbert or Kirby. Everyone else, no. Not even for, emergency ads. No, not even that.
No. Julio has not earned the right to be...
not even home run derby. The home run derby concept is broken anyway. 2-2. Swing and a miss, strike three. There he goes. Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah, that was a nice little sequence, man. Two fastballs to start the at bat, and then he finishes them off a little runner two-seamer.
Bobby Witt or Gunnar Henderson?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Tough call.
See, I would probably... That's a good call.
I would say Bobby Witt because he had a lot less to work with than Baltimore does.
Yeah, I'd probably have to take Gunner.
And here's the pitch, and that is a foul ball. Flick of the switch, my number one critic. He says, glad to see Julio finally move down in the order. I would have preferred 5, but it was a necessary move.
I'll say it right now. The dude that's up right now, Adley, I would take over Cal 10 times out of 10.
And now here's a ground ball right to Rojas, throw to first, and it's in time right over the Ty France, and we got 2 down. So far, knock on wood, great pitching by George Kirby so far. He is actually my favorite Mariner out of all of them right now.
Yeah, I like George. He's been pitching well lately. Same with Logan.
I would actually love him if he just didn't say, I wish I didn't pitch past the 7th inning, to be honest. If you didn't say that, you could be a top 5 favorite Mariner for me. And now here is the pitch, and that is in there for a strike. If I could rank all my favorites, Alex Rodriguez, Randy Johnson, Edgar Martinez, Brett Boone, and then George Kirby. Sorry, Griffey. I just wasn't old enough for him.
Oh, yeah.
No, 01.
It starts and ends with.
Now here's a fly ball to left field, and Rayleigh is there, and he makes the catch, and that's going to retire the side. We go to the bottom of the 1st inning. 0-0. Pretty easy inning for George Kirby. Mm-hmm. And let's remind that George Kirby's last outing against Baltimore in Seattle was a very frustrating one. Like, it was so frustrating, he actually spiked his glove from what I heard.
Yeah, that's I don't remember that, but it wouldn't surprise me. He's sometimes can get a little emotional, but yeah, no, I would say my favorite Mariner is my favorite Mariners were Junior, A-Rod, Buhner, Randy, Edgar, Ichiro, Felix, Kyle Seager, Mitch Haniger. Still Mitch
Kyle
Haniger.
Seager is one of the more underrated stars of the
Adrian Bill. You know, that's the funny thing is, even though that Nelson Cruz ended up having a better Mariner spell than Robinson Cano, I was not a huge fan of the boomstick.
The switch makes a great point. Can't wait to see J.P. Crawford get a leadoff hit, only to see Ty France ground to a double play. I don't really understand why they put him in number 2, so I'm not a big fan of this lineup one bit, so I'm not looking forward to it.
Neither am I. But
I think this lineup's a disaster.
Look at what's funny is like you look at the consistency and the continuity of Baltimore's lineup, and then you look at the trash
Mariners,
the trash pile of the Mariners throughout
place.
Now, granted, the difference is it's like when you look at the youth that Baltimore had and what happened when they came up to the major leagues and they were able to produce, and then you look at what the Mariners brought up in the inconsistency. And it always goes to coaching and what your organizational philosophy is on hitting. And it's obvious that Baltimore just had a nice little simplified unit for their young guys. This is just a weird lineup. Luke Raley's hitting 3rd. Okay. I'm
kind of okay with that because he's actually been with the top hitters of the Mariners. And here is the first pitch from J.P. Crawford. Yeah. And that's going to be a ball. And I've noticed in the comments that I've gotten quite a bit of new people. So I appreciate all of you flipping over to my channel for a change. And hopefully that you will enjoy this channel going forward. The 1-0. And that is up high for a ball, 2-0. On Friday, if you've heard of the Brock and Sock show, it's actually going to be substituted by Marine Layer Podcast for a day on that Friday. This coming Friday, congratulations to them getting their selections. The 2-0.
Wow.
And that's going to be a strike. Yeah.
I guess that kind of shows you just exactly where, 710 or whatever their station channel is now, just exactly how watered down it's got.
2-1.
They're putting
they want some new faces. They want to try to get some new personalities and give them a shot.
Yeah, that's where we're at with radio now, right?
Yeah, radio has really watered. Even if they they don't even get a good presence on YouTube either, and they're optimizing as much as they can.
Oh, for sure. But that's that's where we're at now, where they're going to reach out to Mariner podcasters because of their built-in audience to bring it to terrestrial radio.
That is a foul ball, yeah. I wonder if they're going to get paid for that day too.
I would like to think that they would, because I wouldn't do it for free. I wouldn't do it for free. Yeah,
no, not at all. And now here is going to be the 2-2 by J.P. Crawford.
Ooh.
And now here is a fly ball to right center field. Is that going to be enough?
Nope.
And it is. Nope. That's going to be caught by center fielder. I did like the contact, though. You got to like the hitting.
Yeah.
That was
got a good pitch and drove it.
I mean, I'm going to sound like a Aaron Goldsmith or Dave Sims, but it was a good at bat, at least. At least he didn't go down in strikeouts.
He got a pitch that he can drive, and just got under it and gave it a ride, but Cedric Mullins was there.
Emmett Brown is correct. Where is Ryan Bliss? Like, it's not going to do him any good to keep him on the bench because he's actually a performing hitter. Here's the pitch to Ty France. Now here's a ground ball right to the shortstop. Throw to first in time. So, yep, it would have been a double play.
That would have been a double play. Yeah.
Why are we putting Ty France number 2? He doesn't belong there.
Yeah,
you pulled a Sims on me. Really? I was really trying to be semi-careful about that, Mr. Brown. Sorry, I apologize. And now here is Luke Raley up to the plate. And I was always criticizing Dave Sims. And look at me. I'm pulling a Dave Sims. The pitch.
Yeah.
And that is a strike.
I don't think you could pay me to be on local radio anymore. Like maybe 10 years ago when it was still somewhat relevant. But even then they were hemorrhaging listeners even 10 years ago.
And that's a foul ball. Like,
even then,
if they offer me one, which is very unlikely, I mean, yeah, I'll take it for sure, just for myself, just to really build myself and take their money. That's really it. But at the same time, I don't really have a relationship with any of them like Murray and Leah podcast do, because they were able to find a way. The 0-2.
Yeah, sure.
And a swing and a miss, strike 3, retire the side.
The biggest problem with terrestrial radio is your time on air is built into your listening audience. And if you there was a reason why the 10 o'clock spot was the worst spot in sports radio, because everybody's at work, nobody was listening. And so you wanted to be on the 2 drive time podcast, whether you're in the morning or you're in the afternoon. And even then, when, the biggest problem, just like the newspapers was the internet, podcasts and things like that, where it started siphoning off listeners. And, it's not a good time to be in sports radio right now. It's just because
they got 7 to 10 though. So they got a pretty hot time.
Well,
Rocket Stock is a 7 to 10.
Yeah. For a day. Yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying it's like your listening base is, it's that pool is not there anymore, and people would rather listen to podcasts. Period. Point blank.
If you remember the great Cougar Jim Moore, I'm actually trying to get him to my show. I've actually made contact with him, and
Jim Moore's a great guy.
I do feel bad for him that his relationship had a fallout with Shannon Drayer, because Jim Moore basically said the same thing that we say, that like Mariners media's got to be much more critical, and that's what Jim Moore was willing to say. And then Shannon Drayer did that whole Michael Jordan, and I took that personally. And if I heard that she took it to way too far, to the point that she cut the relationship, and Jim Moore tried to apologize for years, and she still hasn't forgiven him.
Yeah, it's too bad.
It really is.
And that's the unfortunate thing, man. It's like, what does it take? What does it take to just be like, you know what? That's true. You kind of messed up a little bit, and it's okay. And just not take it to heart, and instead of just being like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's ridiculous.
I mean, that's why, she probably would never, ever be on my show. Not offended one bit. It's what it is. It's just, it's kind of sad where it gets to that point. And flick of the switch telling the opinions about those guys. And here's the pitch, and that is the ball. Jim Moore used to talk truth. He was right about Sherm and spoke like a true fan. I guess he wasn't far-fetched.
Yeah, but, even with Jim Moore, they made him tone it down. And
they did, and it was unfair to him. Yeah, it's kind of makes sense why he left.
Yeah, he didn't leave on his own volition. Understand that. That wasn't.
It seemed that he was forced out.
That's exactly right. That was exactly right.
It's kind of tragic.
In order to keep your spot, you have to do things that you're told, and if you're willing to do it,
the 1-1. And now here's a fly ball, actually more of a pop-up, and it's going to drop in for a base hit. And I still would have liked to see Julio try to catch that. I think he could have caught that one. Maybe I'm just being harsh on him, but I still think he could have caught that.
Well,
But he still had quite to run, though.
Santander takes an inside fastball right there. That was really in on the hands, gets his bat front out, pops it straight up. And, Julio had to run it a little bit, but, if he would have charged and tried to dive for that, maybe he might have had a play. But, at that point, what you don't want to do is the ball to bounce.
Going past and be embarrassing.
Yeah.
That's the crapshoot of being an outfielder. It's about the timing and your positioning. I mean, look at my softball, my Everett videos. That kind of says it all. And now we're looking at the 0-1 pitch, and that's a foul ball. And speak of, Christian, I don't have anything for you for that softball, but I'll give you something else that you may like. And actually, I'll give it to all you guys, because if you guys weren't there for the show, I guess you guys deserve this one. And now here is going to be the 0-2 pitch, and JP France is out for the season. The pitch.
Yeah, I saw that.
A swing and a miss, strike 3. And we've got one down.
Yeah, I saw that. And, I don't know if that's going to be a huge loss for the Astros, but still, the last thing you want is to lose any member of your rotation. So
thank you, Mr. Brown, for the sub, and hopefully we'll get more to come in the future. And George Kirby is going to pitch. Here it is, and that is going to be a foul ball. But I guess what I would say for Marine Layer Podcast, they were able to build a good relationship with the Mariners media, something that I have clearly failed to do. But I mean, not everyone's meant to work with the Mariners media anyway. And plus my brand is based on anti-mainstream sports media. Anyway, we got a double play ball to throw to second, throw to first in time, and that's going to be a double play. And we will get out of this inning as we go to the bottom of the second inning. Still no score. And it looks like they may be having a review on there because no one's George Kirby. Oh, nope. I guess not. Now let's go to Flick of the Switch's opinions. 7-10's lineup is not too bad. I mean, I don't really like them that much. Sock, I never really liked. He rubbed me off the wrong way because he started being all anti-Soto Arena, so that's the reason. And he was a huge homer and a proponent of it. And then once like 2016 happened with the whole street vacation, he was like, "Nah, we should do Key Arena, man. It's gonna increase the traffic." And to be fair, he does work for the Mariners technically, so he kind of had to do that. Still didn't like it.
Right. Well, technically he doesn't. I mean, the Mariners are the flagship station. So yeah, they're going to toe the party line. But I think the reality was that even back as far as 2017, the rumblings of OVG and them coming in and revitalizing Seattle Center was already
that was the key. And
yeah, the back channel pipelines. If that didn't, and that's the thing. It's like Chris Hansen really messed up. He really messed up that entire situation. When with the Sacramento Kings and the dirty pool that he tried to tank down an initiative down in Sacramento to stop that building from being built, so they would be forced to sell to him so he can move to Seattle.
I think butting into that
actually embarrassed him within the league, and it was at that point when it was revealed that Steve Ballmer shifted from Chris Hansen, and he ends up buying the Clippers.
That's a good point. That was great time. The timing couldn't have been better because Chris Hansen tries to do his thing, and Ballmer's like, "Okay, I'm going to go buy the Clippers now."
Well, no, but and the word came from the league that they liked Ballmer more than they liked Hansen.
Well, anyone would have liked anyone more than Hansen, honestly.
And
I mean, Hansen's someone that I couldn't see him owning a team. Like after everything I saw, it seems like things would be all over the place.
Well, the thing about it is the city of Seattle looked at him as an outsider, even though he's from
Seattle.
He's from the east side. But they looked at him as a billionaire from the Bay Area. And,
San Francisco will do it. I think if he was trying to do it today, he could actually get away with it because San Francisco to Seattle is now an easy transplant.
Well,
now here's the pitch to Cal, and a fly ball to more of a pop-up, and that is going to be caught by the left fielder.
it was, I always say this time and time again, man. Everything comes down to timing, and that was terrible timing. Seattle had bad stadium fatigue for a good decade. When the Mariners strong-armed the county for a stadium that the voters turned down, and that gets pushed.
Seahawks also pushed it
well,
further.
but at least Paul Allen had a plan. He was willing to pony up half the cost for it, and he did it the right way. It's supposed to be a 50-50 proposition between private and public. And then the debacle of Howard Schultz. And then of course I think that was the initiative.
I-91 was what killed it all.
Yeah. Then because of that debacle, I-91 became law. And so you had this one dude who was coming in and talking about building an arena, privately, and all of it sounded good, but it would still have that bitter taste of stadium fatigue that Seattle didn't want.
1-1.
But they were also like, well, what are we going to do with Key Arena? Because we own it and we want it off the books. So what are you going to do for Key Arena? And he said, that's not my problem. And Seattle was like, really? That's your answer to it? That's not my problem? Okay, cool. You need a street vacated.
2-1. And a swing and a miss, strike 2, especially when he didn't have the political connections, which also didn't help.
Exactly right.
And adding on to having Shama Sawant in that council.
Horrible.
Arguably, I would like to say she probably blackmailed a few of those council members to vote no for the Soto Stadium.
Well, all of those dudes are pro port, are all
2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3, and the futility of Jorge Polanco continues as we've got 2 outs. And yeah, Port of Seattle have also had deep connections.
Well, but also that Port Union is incredibly powerful.
ILWU Local 19.
Yeah, and you're not going to get, progressive socialist Seattle city council members to go against the union. It's just never
going to happen. And now here is the pitch to Canzone. By the time OVG came along, that's where we all finally said, screw it, let's just do it. Because we were all anti-Key Arena for a long time. But then when OVG came up with this master plan, we were like,
I wasn't at all. Because there was just no vision when it came to the Key Arena. And that was the thing. It's like, you had to have somebody that was willing to, you're willing to have a little foresight and a little vision. But the thing with it is
the 0-2 pitch.
I liked OVG because I liked their connections with the NBA. That's something that Chris Hansen just didn't have, was any connection to the NBA. And when you looked at OVG and Bonderman, who was the minority
Celtics minority owner, and now they're on sale, and now he's going to cash up and hopefully get that expansion team. As we got a swing and a miss, strike 3, and
they were bankrolled by MSG, by Jim Dolan and Madison Square Garden Company. It's like the connections. Like if anybody knows what the NBA wants out of Seattle, it's those guys. And I was like 100%. And you're going to rebuild the Key Arena. It's going to be a new arena just under the existing roof.
I've been there. I've been to that stadium for the Caitlin Clark and a couple Storm games.
Yeah, it's a beautiful arena.
They did a pretty good job. I had my doubts, but when you have OVG, who's their career is literally building stadiums, like when I went there, I was not disappointed.
That's it.
And my friend Brian Robinson, formerly of Save Our Sonics, he said that he likes not only that it's new and revamped, but it still has that nostalgic feel of the 90s. Sure. That you still get that feel where it's all intimate.
I was there last November for a Kraken game, and I walked into that arena, and I was like, this is something that I was not expecting. I
was not expecting it either.
Beautiful arena. And I was like, this is amazing, right? Because I seen pictures and I was like, okay, that's cool. It's kind of kitschy and it's got the green wall or whatever the hell, the epic growth wall or whatever. But then when you step into it and it's like, this is a legit NBA arena. You know what I mean? Like, this is legit.
I mean, that's why you have Adam Silver looking into the expansion, and the timing couldn't have been perfect for the sale of the Boston Celtics, because now it's making you think they won a championship. Their value skyrocketed, and now you have them up for sale, and Bonderman's probably going to be like, hey, I'm probably going to sell mine too.
You got an ownership group in Vegas, and they're that's the thing. It's like there's already that ownership group in place for Vegas, and that OVG is going to be in is going to be in for Seattle as well too. Plus the corporate connections in Seattle as well too. And the timing is better now that the building is already up. And I actually expect it to be announced within the next year and a half, because the new NBA TV deal is going to be in effect very shortly.
And now we are back from the break, and now here's the pitch by Kirby, and that's going to be low for a ball. And it's also perfect timing we're talking about this, because it is the 26th anniversary. Has it been 26 years? No, it's been 16 years since the Sonics left Seattle, the 1-0. Now here's a ground ball right to Polanco. Throw to first in time. Great play by Polanco. But yes, it is the anniversary of 2008 when Greg Nichols gave up on holding Oklahoma to the lease, which, by the way, I still didn't really get that lawsuit because of holding them to the lease when they already had a lease until 2010. So there was really nothing to do.
Well, no. That was all about getting money out of them. Like, this was all about strong arming Clay Bennett to pay off the bonds on Key Arena. And that's exactly what they did. That's all it was for the city of Seattle. Was just taking advantage of the situation at hand. They didn't give a shit about it. They did not care about the team.
It was all staged PR stunt to make it look like that they tried, and it was all
because
a done conspiracy.
Because if the city of Seattle really cared about the Sonics, because the first thing that Howard Schultz did was he tried to get that lease reworked, because that was one of the worst leases in pro sports, especially at the lockout of 98-99. And the city of Seattle got like 60% of the revenue for that building.
That's why he got screwed.
Meaning that if they sold out every single game, they would still be operating in the in the
red. Wally Walker admitted that if he sold 100%, which Sonics were always close, they're like a 93-95%, but they were still losing $60 million in that operation.
Which is why they were never able to really go out and get free agents. Because
they couldn't even retain Jerome James and Nick McMillan.
That's exactly right. So, that was really a problem. And so the first thing he did before he asked for money for a new building or even a renovation, he asked for the city of Seattle to rework the lease, and Seattle told him to get rocks. The city of Seattle said, "Nope, we're good."
And also Speaker of the House Frank Chop telling David Stern to go F himself, and that's why David Stern had a really bad perception of Seattle.
Yeah, well, but that was by that time it was already the backdoor deal with Bennett was already in place.
2-2, and we are looking at a 2-2 count. So, but yeah, we can agree that settlement was like the biggest. Like, the settlement was so bad, I forgave Clay Bennett. And I know I'm not supposed to say that, but the settlement was that bad that you couldn't blame Oklahoma anymore.
I never blamed Clay Bennett from the beginning, because that was going to happen regardless. The moment it was announced that they sold to Oklahoma, and knowing that he was the guy that brought the Hornets to Oklahoma City during Katrina, and his whole goal was to get a team to Oklahoma City. And when word came down, you already knew the team was leaving.
3-2.
It was a foregone conclusion. The day that it was announced, media was there at the Furtado Center asking Clay Bennett is it true that this is just a formality and they're going to be playing in Oklahoma City? And he was, of course he said, no, whatever. But everybody understood that, right? Like, to me, it was Howard Schultz not understanding what he was buying into, number one. And then number two, when the offer came, the word is Wally Walker said, okay, cool. Give me 1 week so I can put together a group of investors.
And then here's a throw to second base, and that is out of there. And Cal Raleigh throws the man out at second base.
Yeah, the word was that Wally Walker said, okay, cool, you got the offer. Give me a week so I can...
And then Howard Schultz said yes without even breathing.
And so he said, let me see if I can put together a group of investors to see if we can actually match, because they already knew exactly what time it was. And Howard Schultz said, cool. And then the next day he accepted Clay Bennett's offer.
He couldn't wait to get out.
Right.
The pitch.
And there's a reason why
strike two.
There's a reason why he has never talked about the Sonics since.
Well, and every time someone asks him, he dodges the question.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
And we're looking at the 0-2 to Jorge Mateo. And here is the pitch. Outside for a ball, 1-2. But yeah, at this point, I don't think Oklahoma and Clay Bennett should be vilified because they took advantage of a situation that was basically saying, take our team. They won 2.
Yeah,
Foul ball
right.
2 and still 1-2.
Flick of the switch is right, man. Wally Walker and Howard Schultz ruined the ruin of the
Wally
Sonics.
Walker starting it with Jim McIlvain and not giving the
that
extension to
wasn't.
Sean Kemp.
Well, yeah, it was also Wally Walker had no qualifications
1-2.
to be the GM,
And
he
then
was
Chris Hansen hired him to help him with the Soto Arena, and he still did Wally Walker things.
But by that time, Wally Walker had connections that Chris Hansen needed. He had the connections to Steve Ballmer and some of the local politicians, the infrastructure. So of course he would ask him because he can pick up the phone and call the right people.
2-2. And now here's a fly ball to right field, and Canzone is there. He makes the catch. And another easy inning for George Kirby. We go to bottom of the third. It is still 0-0. And that's another thing I was going to say about Wally Walker. I think that's about it. Yeah.
The inability to make the trade for Scottie Pippen, that was a legit trade on the table.
The Sean Kemp Scottie Pippen trade.
Oh,
I would have done that 10 out of 10.
Yeah, like as much as I love Sean Kemp, Scottie Pippen's a top 50 player, and outside of Michael Jordan,
versatile.
He led the Bulls in pretty much every category outside of scoring. And then when you look at the complexity of the Sonics lineup, then I would think it would probably be easy to go pick up a power forward. But that being said, having Pippen run the four with GP,
that's a defensive nightmare for the other team.
Ooh, yeah, for sure.
That's the thing the Sonics were missing. They were not. It's not that they were necessarily missing the big man. They were missing a legitimate small forward. And sorry, Detlef Schrempf, but
yeah, right. I mean, but even if you ran 2 small forwards with Detlef and Scotty, holy crap! A GP running the point, that's a lethal. Like we get past Houston in '97, we get past Utah in '98,
Lakers,
and the crazy thing, we get past Lakers in '95 too. But the crazy thing is that Pippen played really well until like 2000, 2001. And if you remember correctly, there was a young Sonics player that came along around that time by the name of Rashard Lewis, and that would have been perfect timing as you would transition from the old guard to the new guard. Because you have that young
changing of the guard.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which is what the Bulls didn't have. Like if you remember, like the Bulls probably had no business winning the championship in '98. And when you looked at that lineup, everybody was over 30, and they didn't have that young guy that they can turn to outside of that core group, right? Which is why they didn't do crap after everybody left, right?
And then here's the pitch to Julio, and that is a strike. And then Jerry Krause's drafting skills actually, his drafting wasn't bad. His execution of his rebuild was terrible.
Well, but Jerry Krause was the engineer of those 2 3-peats. I mean, he started in '86, so he drafted
85. It was 85,
85, 86, and '87. He trades for Scottie Pippen. He rescues Phil Jackson from the CBA, from the Albany Patroons. He becomes head coach. He trades. What was it?
1-1. Check swing. Did he go? He did not, but that was a terrible check swing choice for Julio Rodriguez.
He trades Charles Oakley to the Knicks for Bill Cartwright.
And that was actually a good move.
That was a great move. Like he
2-1.
was like, he's hated because of
foul ball.
He's hated because of The Last Dance, but that was tilted towards Michael Jordan, and it didn't tell the accurate story of Jerry Krause. He was the one that.
No, I still think Jerry Krause got an unfair. He still gets an unfair reputation to this day. It's just how he handled the '98. That
was to go public with it before they're chasing their second three-peat was not the right move.
If he didn't go public about it, I think fans would have been more understanding. The 2-2 pitch, and that is outside for a ball 3-2 because it's not about like what you do, it's how you do it and how he presented himself.
Do you know what's interesting though? Is if you think about if we made the trade for Scottie Pippen and
Jordan may not have came back.
Well, that
3-2
also is a possibility.
And here is a blooper right to the second baseman. Really crappy swing by Julio.
I think we win an NBA championship, but also the possibility that we end up with Dennis Rodman.
I heard
a
there was a
trade.
rumor that George
In a
Karl
trade.
wanted Rodman.
Right, in a trade, because like the Bulls sent crap.
Will Purdue.
Yeah, they sent crap, but we had better crap to send to the Spurs. You know what I mean? Like we had the better crap.
Who could we have sent? The pitch. And now here's a ground ball right to the shortstop. Throw to first.
Well, with Scottie Pippen,
In time.
with Scottie Pippen in the fold, imagine if we traded Detlef Schrempf and
you get Dennis Rodman.
Maybe like it's like, how about this? How about Detlef Schrempf? Name a good bench player and like a pick to the Spurs.
It would have been like a Vincent Askew.
Yeah, but like, or maybe like,
and let's throw in Steve Scheffler, the pitch.
Well, yeah, something.
And that is a ball.
And then our front court is Irvin Johnson, Sam Perkins,
Dennis Rodman,
Scottie Pippen, Hersey Hawkins, Gary Payton. That wins a
championship. 1-0.
That probably wins too.
I wonder if I can make a what if video on that. Like, what if the Sean Kemp? I would definitely need the connections and other people to talk about on that, because I do have some decent Sonics connections. So I'll definitely have to talk about it with other people and see what they think to help write me the story. The 2-0, and that is going to be up by 3-0.
Or had we just not traded Scottie Pippen to the Bulls on draft day and just kept him in the 87.
Would have been Xavier McDaniel, Tom Chambers, Dale Ellis, and Scottie Pippen, the 3-0. And that is right down the middle for a strike.
We still draft GP and we still draft Sean Kemp.
Let's do also a what if video. What if the Mariners never traded Tino Martinez? The 3-1. And now here's the ground ball, and that gets right through for a base hit. And Mariners finally get a hit on Josh Rojas. And it pains me to say this, but Rojas is one of our top 3 offensive players on the Mariners.
Nice fastball down in the zone and just ropes it up the middle. That was actually a nice base hit. And by the way, they had it covered past second base, and it just gets on through. I'll tell you what happens if they don't trade Tino Martinez. He leaves via free agency. The end. He had one more. He would have had
one more good run in '96.
Yeah, true, but he still.
But do the Mariners win the '96 World Series if they at least stand pat?
Probably not.
Dang.
Because they didn't have the starting pitching horses.
Well, what if they kept Bennis and Belcher? The 1-0 to Crawford. And here's a ground ball. Probably could be a double. No double play because there's 2 outs. And that is going to retire this side.
Yeah, I was going to say that they don't trade for Sterling Hitchcock, so you don't have him in '96.
But what if you re-upped Belcher and Bennis, which means Bob Wolcott would have had less pressure to perform? So you have Randy Johnson, Andy Bennis, Tim Belcher, Chris Bosio, and Bob Wolcott.
That's not going to get through the American League in '96.
You're the first person to tell me that.
Yeah, though the Yankees. Yeah, Andy Bennis was garbage.
7-2 with a 5-point-something ERA. Woo!
I'll say this: that the Yankees in '96 had even if they don't trade for Jeff Nelson and Tino Martinez, they had the pitching to win it all.
Their first baseman. Yeah, they probably would just pick up some free agent. Maybe they would just picked up Paul Sorrento. They would have picked up. I think they would have picked up Paul Sorrento.
Yeah, I'm just saying that that those starting pitching horses that the Yankees had going into '96 was good enough to win the World Series, which they won. We don't I don't think we have that type of postseason in '96 because
Bill Cartwright jump shot. I'll do an impersonation of it. Yeah. It was like this.
Yeah.
He literally just threw it up.
Yeah, Bill Cartwright was one of my favorite big men back then.
And he was on the Sonics for 94-95 because they needed someone to contain Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah, but by then Bill Cartwright was pretty much washed too.
He was a fossil.
I remember we had in 94-95 we had Sarandos Marshalonis. I was a huge
wasn't he the Soviet Union's best player?
I was a big fan of Rooney.
Why'd the Mariners?
He was
Why did
awesome.
Sonics get rid of him so quick? It seems like he was a pretty decent bench player, at least.
You know who else I was a big fan of was B.J. Armstrong.
Yeah, he still has that baby face to this day.
True. Here's Gunnar
Henderson leading off, and
Yeah,
George Kirby's been very efficient too. 34 pitches on the 4th inning.
You know who was a terrible drafter? Wally Walker. He was a terrible drafter.
I think I know his record, the 0-1.
Horrible drafter.
He drafted some guy named Oyedehi at center, one spot over Michael Redd. Now, could we have known that Michael Redd would have done that? No, but the fact it still says that he still kept drafting centers. The 1-1 pitch.
Yeah, they were.
Now here's a ground ball, and that's going to get right through for a base hit, and Gunnar Henderson gets on.
Yeah, that was the bad combination, was the fact that Wally Walker couldn't draft, but he also was not a good communicator with his head coach, and that relationship turned sour
with George Karl because he wouldn't tell him. He wouldn't even ask him, like, hey, what do you think of trading Sean Kemp for Ben Baker? And George Karl would have been like,
but they did.
Oh no,
they did Sean Kemp so dirty.
They did do him dirty. That's why he got into alcohol.
But it's not just he gave Jim McElvain the contract. It's like, why were the Sonics so popular? It was because of two players, specifically
Gary Payton, Sean Kemp.
Two guys that were the face of the franchise. And if you keep it together, you can rework the supporting cast, but you're going to be a Western Conference semifinal team every year baseline, just with those two players. And so not only do you not re-up Sean Kemp, who very much deserved that contract extension, but you give it to Jim McElvain, and then as a parting gift, you send him to Cleveland.
That's even more insulting. That's why Sean Kemp kind of ballooned in weight, because he got depressed.
Cleveland was Siberia back in the late 90s. They were terrible, and it's like, at least send him to Orlando. Send him to at least a semi-competitive team where he could still have like if you send him to Orlando, at least he gets to play with Penny. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Penny gets it. He doesn't end his career as quickly.
Well,
the 0-2. And now here's a ground ball, as it could be a double play ball. No, and it hits the runner, and everyone is safe.
Because Shaq leaves, and then you have Sean Kemp and Horace Grant still, and with Penny, that's still a fairly competitive team in the East. And it's you send him to Cleveland as a basically an FU, like that's when Wally Walker lost me for good. It's like you didn't have to do that to Sean Kemp. He didn't do anything wrong except for ask for the money that he deserved.
And oh boy, we have two runners on first and second. And the fact that the Mariners are playing so bad is the reason why we're talking about Sonics. I mean, when you have July 2nd, the anniversary, and then you have Mariners playing like garbage, this is what you're gonna get. You're gonna get a disorganized show.
No, I just it's
the pitch. And here is a fly ball. Could that be playable? Luke Raley is going to be there. And he makes the catch, and that's going to be one down. Let's hope we get out of this inning quickly.
The crazy thing is, like, Polanco throws it low to second base, hits a runner in the back, and it's, the
way I look at it, is like when there's something to talk about with this ball team, we'll talk about it. But this is actually kind of fun, man. We're talking Sonics basketball on a Mariners broadcast. I love it.
I mean, my YouTube stats prove that Sonics are a very demanding name.
Yeah,
I mean, look what I've done with my final Sonics playoff video. My Sean Kemp Gary Payton video didn't really do too well because no one cares about 93 for whatever reason. Now here's a throw to second, not in time.
I was thinking about it this afternoon. It's like, one of the greatest come-ups that never resulted into a championship, right? The Seattle Supersonics. Like, that was one of the best come-ups I've ever seen in sports that didn't result in a championship. The Mariners were another one as well, too, that had a phenomenal come-up that just they couldn't get over the hump.
The pitch.
The Sonics.
And a strike.
The Sonics, it was just bad beats, man. 93, 94, 96 running into the 72 and 10 poles. that was bad timing, a couple bad beats, but it was that 92-93 Western Conference final, man, where the NBA was not going to have anybody else except for Michael Jordan,
Charles Barkley,
who was the MVP, by the way.
No, Barkley was 93 MVP.
That's what I'm saying. The 93 season when the Sonics faced him in the Western Conference Finals, in that BS Game 7 where Barkley goes to the line.
64 free throws.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They nobody shoots 64 free throws unless you want a team to play against Michael Jordan in the finals.
No.
That doesn't happen unless you want the Phoenix Suns in the finals against Michael Jordan.
And when we get into commercial break, I want to go over some draft history by Wally Walker, starting in 95. I think you might like it. I'm not sure. And now here's a throw to second base, and not in time, and it was really close. George Kirby nearly threw out Henderson.
You know what's funny is we drafted Eric Snow, who had a lot of promise, and then we gave up on him. He goes to Philly and performs actually quite well in Philly. I remember he went to the NBA Finals with Allen Iverson.
He did.
And that crew that ended up getting swept by the Lakers. But
I wonder if they're – oh, nope, they're going to play on. Scott Service says no challenge. I think I would have challenged that personally to take it a chance.
Santana.
And now here is the 0-2, and that is up high for a ball, 1-2.
Yeah, I remember that Game 7. That was a BS Game 7. Because the Sonics fought to get back into that series.
They did. And now we're looking at the 1-2. And here is the pitch. And that is a fly ball foul. Is that playable for Josh Rojas? And that is going to be well out of play. And we got quite a bit of Oriole fans here in Seattle, too.
Yeah, Kendall Gill was a terrible teammate, too.
There was a rumor that GP and Kendall Gill came to blows in the locker room. That's why.
No wonder they traded him for Hawkins.
Yeah, they traded him quick.
They actually got David Wingate out of that trade, out of Kendall Gill too. I mean, not that he was any good, but
I like David Wingate. Wingate was a solid 7-8
1-2. And that's gonna be a foul ball. And George Kirby is really getting taxed up on this inning. Not good.
A little bit. Fourth inning, 46 pitches. That's actually still pretty within, that's still within the margin.
It's still well within, but we would have liked to see George Kirby go deep because the bullpen that the Mariners have, especially against this offense, is not something to be confident about.
Right, but he still goes 6 tonight.
I'd like to see 7. Although George Kirby's like, I don't want to go 7 innings. He did set that precedent on himself.
I would too, but in a close game after the second time through the lineup,
1-2.
It's still 0-0.
And George Kirby's losing that control a little bit, and that's going to be a 2-2.
If this game is still tied by the 6th inning, there's no way you're going to see him in the 7th going through the third time through the lineup.
You think so, huh?
100%. Scott Service does not like letting his starter see the third time through the lineup.
He's got PTSD through Brian Wu and Robbie Ray.
He's got PTSD.
He's got that shell shock.
Sometimes I heard that in the old days, the best way to slap PTSD away was to be slapped. It's like, oh, you got PTSD? Yeah. Here you go.
Get a hold of yourself, man.
Yeah.
Keep it together, man.
I missed
the 2-2. Yeah, now there's all this. Now you have to go to therapy. And here's the thing. I've done it before because people told me to, and they were nagging me. It's just not for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Although I will say this, there is some benefits of, talking through some of your problems with somebody that's not emotionally connected to it. You know what I mean? Maybe there's some benefit of
2-2. And now here's a ground ball, and that's going to get right through for a base hit. And Gunnar Henderson is going to score, and the Orioles lead it 1-0. And I did see that lackadaisical effort by Julio to pick up that ball. Did you see that?
I did. Yeah, that scored Gunnar Henderson nicely. But by the way, that was a good pitch by Kirby. And Santana, that was well low and out. That was a pitcher's pitch, and he just got his bat on it. And unfortunately, it scores Gunnar. But it's not like it was a fastball right down the pipe or anything like that. But, not only do you have a semi-lackadaisical effort by Polanco, even with the dive, and then Julio taking his time to come get the ball. So
it's something that should be pointed out, but of course not, because Julio still has that flashy name where he gets away with that in front
and
of
now all of a sudden, now it's 1 runs in, still only 1 out, 2 on, and he's got to. Kirby's got to bear down right now, because this has a potential of potentially getting broken wide open.
I wonder if the Mariners lose this series or get swept. I wonder if this will finally get John Stanton to say, "Okay, fine, screw it, let's get it," or he's gonna say, "No, I believe in this team."
No, listen, man. I see it all the time on social media.
The 1-1.
How come they haven't brought anything in yet? Is because of that extra wild card team, man. A lot of teams that normally would be out by this time are still kind of in the race for that last wild card. So a lot of teams are in that bubble of, are we buyers or are we sellers? Because we might be 11 games out in the division, but we're 3 games out of the wild card.
The 1-2
teams like San Francisco that are buried in the division but still have a chance at the wild card. It's like, normally they would probably be out of it by now.
Hot controversial take. I actually was against the 3rd wild card spot. The 2nd wild card I was okay with, but then when it got to the 3rd one, it was like getting out of hand.
No, I actually think they should add another one.
You think so?
The more teams that are in the playoffs, the better for Major League Baseball. But it's also going to allow more parity, right? And we've already seen wild cards win World Series, or get to a World Series, which is only going to be good for Major League Baseball. But without the 3rd wild card, we don't make the playoffs. So it matters.
Look at the switch, and I agree with something. It says laziness on defense is a direct reflection of the manager, which that is a very under-talked issue.
Yeah, we were talking about it just a couple days ago, where you gave your bold prediction that they would do
3-2.
And I still stand by it. It's like I don't think they can afford to do nothing. I just don't think it's going to be a big name that everybody hopes.
I think, and also on top of it, I think a fight could break out too, because we saw in 2018 there were frustrations and a fight broke out. I think maybe something happens in that clubhouse. Something will break the team. The 3-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. We finally get an out of it, and 2 out.
That happens, boy, oh boy, oh boy. You just hope that's not. There's enough good personality in there and enough leaders in there that are not going to allow it to break down the middle like that. But I think after last offseason, or at the end of last season with Cal Raleigh
and George Kirby.
Yep. Cal Raleigh coming out public and saying, listen, we need help. And JP Crawford backing him up a little bit. And then the fact that Scott Service and Jerry DiPoto don't have contracts for the 2025 season, I don't think they can afford not to do anything. You know what I mean? Like they can't just sit back and hoard their prospects and think that this team is going to be able to do it. Like you got to give them
even if they do get called up, there's like we all agree, there's no guarantee. Like they could do exactly like 2024 Julio. That could still happen.
Well, it's like, but also
than the other.
But also in baseball, momentum is a very big thing, and it's like getting somebody in the door from the outside of the organization is a shot of adrenaline into the arm of the team, because now it's like, oh, we got so and so. Like imagine 2022 when they got Luis Castillo. That was a shot of adrenaline in the arm. Like that propelled them to the playoffs. Like that was a big get. And
it was
without it, do they propel themselves to the playoffs in 2022? Maybe not. It's
now,
big. Like that's a real factor.
We got a 1-0 pitch to Westberg, and that is a strike, 1-1. And with runners in scoring position, he's very dangerous. 4 home runs and 34 RBIs. And must I say, this Orioles team is absolutely loaded. And just for craps and giggles, they still have Chris Davis under contract, who also was a big-time hitter for about a couple years.
Yeah, and they also got Jackson Holiday in AAA, too. Like
1-1. And now here's a fly ball to right field, and Canzo makes the catch, and that is going to retire the side. We go to the bottom of the 4th. It's 1-0 Baltimore.
You know, flick of the switch is right. I mean, you know, you'll see the team really fall off. I actually don't think they'll make the playoffs. If they do nothing, they don't make the playoffs this year.
They don't make it. They don't.
And
And
it will reinforce the need to get rid of Jerry Dipoto and Scott Service, because that will be the second straight year that they failed to make the playoffs. And what's even worse is the Mariners were in first place for half a season. You know what I mean? Like that's unacceptable. That's unacceptable.
except who's John Stanton going to hire after that? It's not like they're going to find anyone
easy.
better.
You're going to go get the guy that broke the curse in Boston and Chicago.
Terry Francone or Joe Madden.
Nope. You're going to go get Theo Epstein.
I guarantee you that John Stanton doesn't even know who that is.
I guarantee you he works for Major League Baseball. I guarantee you he knows who he is.
Oh, come on. It's a joke. It's just... Well, anyways, I'm looking at the Wally Walker draft history. 95, he drafted Cheryl Ford over these following names. Greg Ostertag, Fab Five, Jimmy King, even though he did nothing. Danielle Marshall. So maybe there were some opportunities.
I would have liked to have Greg Ostertag.
Yes. The big 00.
You know, as goofy as was, he was somewhat productive with Utah. He was somewhat productive with Utah. Go continue.
And he never had, every season he played, the team always finished 41-41 at least. And I'm not saying he was a direct impact, but
sure,
he was useful for something. All right, 96, the big draft of Kobe. Let's see where the Sonics were. They drafted a center, of course they did. Joseph Blair over Jeff McGinnis. Malik Rose, that would have been, I guess, better off.
I would have taken Malik Rose. But
Malik Rose would have been your hustler. So, I mean, you can't really fault Wally Walker on that one. There's not much choices. Who would have known? Sonics drafted Bobby Jackson and did not hang on to him. They gave him to the Kings immediately for the 97.
Yeah, and Bobby Jackson had a nice little career, man.
And with Sacramento, great backup to Mike Bibby. And by the way, we are back from the break. And Ty France, give us reasons to not talk about Sonics. And that is a strike.
And he's currently in an 0-2 hole.
Yeah. So they shouldn't have gave up on Bobby Jackson. Dang.
I liked it when the Sonics, like in 2010 to 2012, they constantly held down the 11th pick, and they went through Johan Petro and Bobby Swift. They currently always had the number 11 pick. And
they did.
And they missed on everything. I think that was they drafted Mikhail Zhelebal. And
Zhelebal!
It was.
I remember when my dad when I was watching a Sonics game, my dad saw the name Jellaball, and he was like, "Oh God, that's how bad the Sonics are because of a name Jellaball."
Oh, dude, I remember going to Key Arena, it was before they won the Northwest Division.
The
so
2-2.
It was like Brent.
That is a ball.
It was pre-Ray Allen. So Bones
Trey, you saw me at DC Speed, did you? Was that in August of 23? Let me know. And now here's the pitch. And foul ball, 3-2. Looks like more people are starting to notice me now.
Yeah, there you go. Good for you, man.
DC Speed. That was the... No, I think that was the... What was it? That was the middle school thing I was talking about. The summer camp thing I was volunteering.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's the one. That's what I meant.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah, there was some time when
up high for a ball 4. Ty France gets on base. Ty France, I got something for you. I have a special gift for you. Something to...
Please don't play it. Just don't play it. Because he did...
I only do that for Oakland games now.
Yeah, there was some lean years there, and I remember when it was Brent Berry was on the team, and you used to be able to go to the Key Arena and sit in the upper decks for $10, and the team was just bad. You're you go from championship level to this, in so quick, and there was a young Rashard Lewis, and that was cool, but
Reggie Evans, the collector.
Yeah, and Ruben Patterson, the Sky Pilot.
No, the Kobe Stopper.
Yeah, the Kobe Stopper. Yeah, but his nickname was the Sky Pilot.
Maybe he should have just kept that.
And Desmond Mason.
I love Mason, the
I did
1-1
too.
and the ball. I wouldn't have.
Reggie Evans was a hell of a defender, rim defender. He was pretty good.
He was a hustler.
Yeah, he was pretty good.
He got people beaten up. I like Fortson because he got 6 fouls, but it was useful.
I like Danny Fortson because he was running Lauren Jackson's joints, man. I had a big crush on Lauren Jackson. That was the rumor.
1-2.
He was
Danny
him and
Fortson and Lauren Jackson had a thing?
Yeah, he was running those joints. I was like, heck yeah, because she's a giant. I think
6'5", and she's hot.
Dude, she was a giant. Like she was hot. She was hot on a lot of levels.
And still playing basketball.
And still playing basketball. And I was like, Danny Fortson.
And Luke Raley strikes out.
But that was those teams were trash. Yeah, they were. But you know, that's the thing, man. And then that 2004 Northwest Division win came out of absolutely nowhere because that team really didn't look like a championship. It didn't look like a division winning team, but it took advantage and won a lot of games. I remember going to the Key Arena that year, and
a bunt, Cal Raleigh bunt.
There were some sellout crowds, and it was kind of fun to be there because you hadn't seen it since the 90s.
Felt a little bit of 90s nostalgia when that was going around, just for that one little season.
And you know that it was not going to be around next year.
No.
Yeah.
I got to see Howard Schultz, like, whenever someone made a shot, he's like, yeah! He was like trying to be like a Mark Cuban wannabe.
And well, you know, you better be packing to satisfy that woman. Yeah, no doubt, man.
What is flick the switch? What is my channel without flick of the switch?
Yeah, dude, that's funny as hell. But yeah, that
1-1
fire. Lauren Jackson was fire.
2-1. Oh, who is Beefer the Hobbit? How you doing? I'm pretty sure these are the kids that I was playing sports with as a volunteer and a coach.
Yeah.
And the pitch. And so that is ball 3.
So was her Australian teammate, man.
Do you remember Telly Bevilacqua? Remember that chick? Her Australian point guard?
Punching wind. What are you doing? Thank you. The 3-1. And now here's a ground ball foul. Oh, punching wind.
This is great.
Now I'm getting all these random. I like it. I like this level of engagement. One of these days, I will be able. The chatting line will go so fast that I have to charge people to get me to reply. That will happen someday.
Yeah, there were a few bangers on that 04 Storm team, man. There were a few bangers on that team.
Ball 4, take your base, and we got a runner in scoring position. Breaking news: we have a runner in scoring position.
Well, and I think it's going to be huge for Polanco here to do what he did a couple days ago, which is work a good count in his favor and get a fastball, get the green light and turn on it.
I can't look.
Chopper.
The pitch. And now here's a chopper to second base, double play ball, throw to first. You know, it's not even frustrating anymore. It's actually getting more funny at this point.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think I said on Twitter, if you can't laugh at this, then you really can't laugh on it. Can't laugh at it. But that's
all right. Let's go to 98 draft. I'm done already. We drafted Vladimir Stefania over Nazi Muhammad and Ruben Patterson, which they got him anyway. No, we could have had Nazi Muhammad.
Yeah, what's funny is what was it? You said Vladimir Potapenko?
No, it was Vladimir Stefania, which by the way, I actually met him before. He's a big dude.
Dude, it was funny because they had a string of Lithuanian big men that would always set the picks but never roll. I would be at Key Arena like screaming at the top of my lungs. And it's like you would set the high pick and then he wouldn't roll to the basket.
The Hobbit catching up. You're getting worried, bruh. I was worried when we had a 10-game lead. I was worried then.
No, I'm not worried because you knew the Astros weren't gonna continue to play as bad as they did.
No, that's the thing. I was worried because I knew that they were going to do it. That's the thing.
Yeah, that didn't have me worried. What would be worried is if they completely cratered.
What I would have done is I would have went to the casino, which everyone has I should have done this stock market story, but I would have went to that casino, put money on the Astros winning that division, and it would have been really cheap too. Okay, 99 draft. What did they do in the 99? They drafted Corey Maggette, and then they traded him away to get Horace Grant. But we could have gotten Ron Artest on the Sox. Imagine Gary Payton and Ron Artest.
I'll tell you what, man. Yeah, that was dumb for sure. But, the Corey Maggette was pretty good.
And we traded him to get Horace Grant because Wally Walker couldn't stop going for centers.
Yeah, but you get Horace Grant at the end of his career, and it's like you get Horace Grant in '94. You know what I mean? Like when he was a free agent after he left.
Oh, why did we sign him then?
That's exactly right.
Sean Kemp and Horace Grant would have been lethal.
If look at the switch, the cat rolled in with a "What's up?" She sure did, man. That was funny. You heard that? That was great.
And here,
my
Cowser.
My cat just rolled by and was like, "Meow."
And this game is so bad that I'm so consumed with the Sonics.
But not only is it bad, but it's kind of boring, man.
It's really boring. And here's the 0-1. And now here's a ground ball to JP, throw to first in time.
Like I was getting used to this whole thing where the Mariners were like inept for 6 innings, but like come the 7th and 8th inning, they would flip it on and they would win a run-one ball game, right? Like that's been the Mariners all year.
Not feeling it.
But lately, it's like there's no comeback in this team.
Well, before we get to the next batter, 2000 draft. They got this one right. They drafted Desmond Mason. I would do that again. The pitch.
Who was ahead of Desmond Mason?
Hito Turkoglu.
See, again, I would have taken Hito Turkoglu.
But he was already drafted.
Like who was behind them? Who did we take?
Quentin Richardson, Jamal McGlure. You had your center, Wally Walker.
Yeah.
The 1-0.
Quentin Richardson was pretty good too.
And that is a strike to Cedric Mullins, 1-1. He was a very streaky shooter, though. Okay, but this is the one that gets me the most. Oya Dehi over Michael Redd. One spot.
Yeah. Who is behind Michael Redd?
The pitch. And there is a fly ball to left field, and Luke Raley is going to be there. And he makes the catch. Basically, nobody.
Okay.
Now let's go to 2001. I'm telling you, I shouldn't be doing this, but the Mariners are making me do it. I mean, I'm now amazed how disciplined Aaron Goldsmith is about it. Imagine having his job, and you have to be like, oh yeah, Mariners, they are doing a good job keeping it as a 1-0 game. I can't do that.
Yeah, but just imagine if they make the trade for Scottie Pippen, and they either trade for Dennis Rodman or sign Horace Grant free agent the very next year. And then you have that front court with Scottie Pippen and Gary Payton.
It could be a good what-if video idea for next year.
I'm just saying that wins a chance. That gets at least a couple NBA finals.
I am definitely going to team up with a couple of my friends to write the script for me. Help me write the script.
Yeah.
That's going to take that's going to take at least a couple of my friends to help me write that.
I'm just saying it's a cool what if because
1-1.
There was
here is a fly ball popped up,
JP
and makes the catch 1-2-3, but Mariners are down. That's the thing, like that could be a good underserved idea because no one. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube and see if anyone talks about it. I don't think anyone does. It's a very under-talked thing.
What ended up happening was there was a deal in the works, and Jerry Krause was on board with this, right? Jerry Reinsdorf, Jerry Krause was on board with trading Pippen to Seattle, and then word leaked in Seattle, and they took it to sports radio, and fans called in and were screaming at the top of their lungs not to trade Sean Kemp. So Ackerley stepped in and killed the deal. And it's like, dude,
there's a couple videos. There is Kemp was almost traded for Scottie Pippen. Only like 2,000 views. So I think this one is like this one could be an opportunity for the future of my content but it's going to take really good writing. Like I don't think I can write this one myself. Like, I actually will need reinforcements on it.
all I know is that, you know, when you look at the complexity of the Western Conference, there's a good.
I think I should at least delete I'm at least deleting that.
What? Okay.
I'm not gonna block the guy, but I'm gonna be like,
yeah, no, that caught me by surprise. I was like, what? So, you know, the crazy thing is that, you know, who knows if Houston wins back-to-back titles in 94 and 95? Who knows? I'm just saying it's like, you know, that was the perfect opportunity, you know, for the Sonics to steal when Jordan was away. And when you looked at those teams, they were good teams, but they weren't complete teams. And when you look at the complexity of those two, specifically those 2 years before Jordan comes back, and then if that deal gets made, does Jordan come back? Because then it's wide open.
And does he? But even then, that whole Jordan thing was really just a 2-year secret suspension by David Stern.
It wasn't a secret suspension.
I don't think so.
No,
you don't buy that.
I don't.
Because I do. Because they dropped that investigation 2 days after that retirement.
Yeah. Well, because what Jordan was doing, gambling, wasn't breaking any rules at the end. Because he wasn't gambling on baseball. He was just gambling on golf. And Jordan was, by that time, had so much money that he could have paid off any of his debts. It wasn't an issue. The reason why I don't buy it was because in 91, 92, he was already talking about leaving.
And here's a ground ball to second base. This is boring, man.
Yeah, Jordan was already talking to his teammates about leaving to go play baseball in 91, 92. So he wanted the three-peat, but yeah.
Oh, 2001. Vladimir Radmanovich over Richard Jefferson. Ooh,
yeah,
that hurts.
Yeah. The
pitch to Julio Rodriguez, and that is the ball. Remember that one time Vladimir actually showed up with dreadlocks before?
It just goes to show you how bad our talent scouts were. You know, to take Vladimir Radmanovich.
And the ground ball fell. Yeah, Radmanovich. Great 3-point shooter. The guy couldn't make a layup, though. He was a horrible layupper.
I mean, we did get Rashard Lewis in the second round, so I guess there's something. But, you know, the fact that, you know, for years, they tried to unearth the center and couldn't get one. You know, we got
and a swing and a miss, strike 2.
Luke Ridenour and Nick Collison.
I like Ridenour, though. Yeah, solid role players.
Solid role players, but they weren't upper echelon NBA players.
Collison was a hustler. He had a big heart. Oh, we could have drafted Zach Randolph. Dang. Gerald Wallace. Yep. The pitch, and that is 2-2. Samuel D'Alembert, Tony Parker. Well, Gary Payton, but still.
Yeah.
Gilbert Arenas. A lot of lost opportunity for the Sonics on this one.
Yeah, I mean, imagine Gilbert Arenas and Tony Parker in Seattle.
The 2-2.
Like, you know, that's the thing is getting Tony Parker would have made losing Gary Payton. It would have made it easier because Tony Parker ended up being a phenomenal point guard.
He did for the Spurs. Long-time point guard.
Remember Vinny Del Negro?
Yes.
I was a big Vinny fan.
A 2-2. And foul ball, and Julio continues to do it again. He's just not connecting it well.
Well, you know, I don't understand. Like, I swear to God, I have no idea what happens to dude's pull side power. Swing!
And a 2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Woohoo! Yeah! Way to go, Julio! You struck out. I'm giving you a huge standing ovation for this. All right, time to show some embarrassing videos of myself because this game is so bad. I got to put some entertainment in here. Here's the first one. You saw this already, but this is for everyone else. Stand by.
Changes unannounced by the Spokane Indians. 1-0 pitch. Swing on a high fly ball right field. Deep. Down the line. Into the corner. It is gone.
I was the idiot that slipped and fell. Ways, it is still a 1-1 count. I thought it was 3 outs by now, but Mitch Haniger is up to the plate. But does it really matter?
You know, this is what bugs me about the Root Sports broadcast. You know, they show the 56 career home runs at T-Mobile Park for Mitch Haniger, like it matters. Like does this really matter? It should be like, you know, get your get your butt in gear, Mitch. Like there's a good
2-1.
There's a good example right there.
That was a meatball right there.
Right, that's
it. Swung at that one.
The old Mitch Haniger swings at that pitch.
Oh, old Mitch Haniger that we love is cringing at this. And now we're looking at the 2-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Woo! All right, time to show. I'm going to re-show that home run thing because that was a bit rushed.
Changes unannounced by the Spokane Indians. 1-0 pitch, swinging a high fly ball right field, deep down the line, into the corner. It is gone.
I was the idiot that slipped and fell. Word of advice for fielders trying to catch a fly ball: never take one step in. When in doubt, take one step back. Isn't that great?
You are not athletic at all, my man.
I am athletic. I'm just out of shape. And I just had bad timing with that. If I just stood there, I would have caught that. And I would have been much more popular.
If you would have made lateral steps to your left, you would have caught that ball. Right? You went in when you should have. You zigged when you should have zagged. Yeah, but you're right. Like you know, on a fly ball, you should never run in because there's a chance it might go over your head. So the first thing you do is you stay where you are and you evaluate, and then you move back. You don't.
And worst case scenario, if it goes in front of me, I just dive for it, and it looks just as cool.
Right, but that was not cool at all. You're on a hill and you come forward, so of course you're going to slip. But yeah, there was nothing athletic about that at all.
I wonder if there were people that actually saw me slipping. Like, who's that guy over there slipping?
Whoop. Yeah.
Oopsie. Oh, 2002. Nothing really notable.
Was that the year that we drafted Robert Swift with the 11th pick?
No, we're not there yet.
Okay. Swifty was my guy, by the way. I thought Robert Swift was the shit.
He should have been the guy, but nope.
Baker,
we drafted Nick Collison and Luke Ridnour over these following: David West, Boris Diaw.
I would have taken Boris. Boris was pretty good.
Kendrick Perkins, Josh Howard. Ooh.
I would have taken Kendrick Perkins. That dude was legit in Boston for a little bit.
The pitch, and that is a swing and a miss and a strike. Willie Green, who the Sonics traded away, over Mo Williams and Kyle Korver. Ooh. So many misses there.
Yeah, I would have taken either of those two, too.
0-1. Mo Williams was like LeBron's kind of first legitimate number 2. Kind of. Or Ilgauskas, but Ilgauskas was always like a 3 guy anyway.
Yeah, Zydrunas Ilgauskas.
I liked Ilgauskas.
I did too. I thought he was a solid rock down in the paint. He wasn't great, but he also wasn't terrible either.
He had no feet either, but he still made it work because he has lanky.
Yeah.
He was a fun guy to watch with LeBron.
Poor Robert Swift, man, coming from Bakersfield, California, in his second year gets the knee injury and he's never the same.
Yeah, that knee injury really killed him. The 1-2.
Well, you know, knee injuries with 7-footers are a death sentence, anyways. Man, look what happened to Greg Oden.
Yao Ming. And we're looking at the 2-2 for Gunnar Henderson. And here is the pitch. And that is low for a ball. And 2004 will be really fun to look at. So stay tuned in this commercial break. And if you're wondering why we're talking about Sonics basketball, 1, because it's the anniversary since they left. And 2, this game is super boring. The 3-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. The fact I have to be so excited for a strikeout really says about this game.
You know, I have some reservations about when the Sonics come back. Like, will Seattle really even care? Because, you know, the league is so different. The league is so different now, dude. Like, it's not the same at all. It's like the NFL. They strip the name of the defense.
The name sells.
Yeah, no, like I would assume just like the Kraken the first year that the Sonics are back as an expansion team. They're not going to
Yeah, tickets will be impossible to get.
Yeah. And then, with the after the wear of the inaugural season wears off, then the reality that you got a bad basketball team,
and a very low quality league.
Yeah, that's my point, right? Like the NBA is a far cry from where it was in the 80s and 90s.
Getting the Sacramento Kings, if Chris Hansen handled that a lot better, that would have been a perfect time to get back, because you still got LeBron's prime. Kobe's just out of his prime.
Right.
A lot of what ifs. And we could have saw Kobe's retirement tour, the pitch.
Yeah.
And that is upstairs for a ball.
The crazy thing though is like when they stripped the game of its defense and they sold out to the stars like the NFL, it really became a different league. And then once the Warriors did what they did,
and then here's a ground ball right to Polanco's got. Oh, he bobbles the ball, and there is no out on that one. Josh Rojas slaps his butt, and I think this game is really telling that Polanco may not last long on this team. You got Ryan Bliss just sitting on his ass, and if I'm Scott Service, take his ass out and put in Ryan Bliss. That should be an easy discipline move.
The biggest reason why is because they're in first place. That's the reason why they don't. Like if this was 2019 and you're rebuilding, yeah, you give the young guys a lot of run. But in a season like this where you're still in the division, you're still in the driver's seat, you're going to rely on your veterans. But
for a game like this, I would take out Polanco because he's been embarrassingly bad.
It's hard. It's hard to watch, man. But that's the thing, man. When the Golden State Warriors did what they did with a young Steph Curry, and it basically changed the league overnight. And now then every team was basically running the floor and jacking threes. Kind of became hard to watch.
Yeah.
Became hard to watch, and it's like, what are the new Sonics going to do? Are they going to
2-0? Now here's a ground ball, and that is caught by Ty France, and that's going to retire the side. So we are out of this inning, and I couldn't wait to get to the 2004 draft because this game is bad. All right, here you go. Ready for this?
Definitely not good. Yeah, go ahead. Hit me.
With the 12th pick in the 2004 NBA draft, the Seattle Supersonics select Robert Swift out of Bakersfield High School in California over these following: Stephon Marbury's cousin Sebastian Telfair, Chris Humphreys, Chris Kardashian, shall I say? Al Jefferson, no! It gets worse. It gets worse. Josh Smith, J.R. Smith, Jameer Nelson, Delonte West, Tony Allen.
We got Delonte eventually, yeah.
We did, but too little too late. Kevin Martin.
Not really. We got Delonte like 2 years later. We got him like 2 years later.
Yeah. Anderson Varejao.
Definitely J.R. Smith and Al Jefferson. Definitely those two.
Andre Emmett from the Sonics for over Chris Duhon. Trevor Ariza. Ha-Sung Jin. He's not that good, but still pass on a Korean guy. Eesh. That's a failed draft right there. That was a huge missed opportunity. 2005, I like this one. Now, you didn't have a first-round pick, really, because the Sonics were actually good that season. But they fell to 25. Johan Petro over David Lee, CJ Miles, Brandon Bass, Ersan Ilyasova, Von Wafer, Monte Ellis, Lou Williams, Andre Blatch, Marcin Gortat, Amir Johnson. Yikes.
Yeah. That's just, that just signals how bad they're the Sonics.
And here is a line drive, and that is going to drop in for a base hit, and Josh Rojas will get to first base with a single, and he has been on fire today.
Yeah, it just shows you how bad their talent evaluators were. I mean,
and then Sam Presti taking over, he was the complete opposite.
to miss that many times. And then, by the time Sam Presti walked in, it was like they're building for Oklahoma City anyway. So
they somehow got the Suns to give Kurt Thomas and a first-round pick for cash.
Yeah,
that's the trade, and that turned into Serge Ibaka.
We ended up trading Ray Allen to the Celtics, and we ended up with Jeff Green and
1-0
Kevin Durant. So that was the hardest thing to deal with.
The thing was, if it wasn't for the relocation tensions, that wouldn't have. I don't think fans would have been opposed to that trade. It was the timing of it was really bad.
Right. They were gutting the team. That was the toughest thing to swallow, was getting Kevin Durant for his rookie season and just watching him. You're like, God damn it, he's going to kill it. And then the next year they get Westbrook and they get
Ibaka.
They get Serge Ibaka, but they also get home dude from
James Harden.
James Harden. And you saw what they did 4 years later. They got
if only Greg Nichols was just willing to say, "We'll hold you to the damn lease."
And by the way, they would have won that case too, because a lease is an ironclad, legal document.
Peckman's no, Judge Peckman would have been like, "You're wasting my time. Get both of you are idiots. Get out of here."
Right. And you saw what happened when the collapse of 2008 happened.
Audrey McClendon lost everything.
Lost his entire fortune, and who knows how that was going to play out.
The 2-2. And now here is a fly ball to center field, and nope.
They may have been forced to sell at least a portion of it to local investors, which probably would have kept them in Seattle.
The other thing that doesn't get talked about is Steve Ballmer just wanted $150 million to renovate Key Arena, and Greg Nichols like, "Oh, cool. Hey, Frank Chop, can you give us $150? Because I don't want to do it." And Frank Chop's like, "Get the fuck out of here."
Well, here's how that was complete BS. Was that a part of that settlement was
you were going to get like $35 million up front, and if they would have
45,
they got 45 up front, and then if they would have passed funding
another stadium, they get another 30.
They get another 30, and they let that go by. You know what I mean? That's how you knew the deal was BS. That's what that negotiation was for, to pay off the bonds at Key Arena. That was it. So
Greg Nichols probably had his little hand in there too. Like
No, I mean, I truly believe it was a fiduciary thing, because the Seattle Center was running in the red. Like they were behind on Seattle Center, and that allowed them to get in the black
foul ball.
Because that's exactly what they did with the money. Is they paid off the bonds. That's it.
I have a bet. If Ty France hits a 2-run home run, we will end the Sonics talk. That's how confident I am it's not going to happen.
Will we transition to more Lauren Jackson talk?
No. Okay. And a check swing, and just by that, just the fact that he check swings at crap pitches, home run's not going to happen.
She was hot.
Yeah.
She was hot. I missed.
That's the reason why the Storm actually got generated attention.
You know who was a dimer though was Breonna Stewart.
Meh. 2-1. Oh, come on, France. You gotta swing at that, man. You gotta swing at that.
He would have popped that straight up. Come on now. High fastball. He would have got under it and popped it straight up.
No, I'm just mad. That's all. I'm just bored to death. That's the thing.
Got to keep Josh Rojas honest at first base with the throw over there, Grayson.
God, it's just Josh Rojas. He ain't stealing anything.
God, that's a dumb name.
And we're looking at
2-2. He's got 79 pitches. We're through 6, so
still efficient. 6 for 9 in stolen bases for Josh Rojas. Why not just do it at this point? The pitch up high for a ball, 3-2.
That was the pitch to do it on 2, by the way. High fastball. Where Adley had to stand up there, catch it a little over his body.
2006 will also make you pull your hair out, maybe. So just be aware. Unless Ty France hits a home run, I have to say it. The 3-2. And that is ball 4. Take your base. And, well, I guess I'm still talking about the Sonics.
Now we have 2-1 with Luke Raley. Only 1 out.
Ready for... Okay, we'll do it on commercial break. I can wait. But Mariners, you're giving me reasons to talk about other things, changing the subject.
Let's go,
Luke.
3-run bomb. Let's go.
Let's do it. He's 0 for 2 with 2 strikeouts, though. He's got to do something. The pitch. And a check swing. Did he go?
No.
It looks like he did not. And this season, he's batting .258 with 9 home runs and 23 RBIs. And now we're looking at the 1-0 and the pitch.
Oh!
Now here's a ground ball. Could be double play ball. And no, he bobbles it. And he's safe. He is safe at second base. And nobody is out. And the bases are loaded. But we all know how that's going.
That was a tailor-made double play. And now all of a sudden, Rodriguez.
That could have ended the inning.
Ooh, and I wonder if they're going to
challenge the call by Brandon Hyde. Brandon Hyde, who got robbed from the 2022 Manager of the Year considerations, which was given to Terry Francona.
And by the way, that was a very good pitch to hit too, and he just
it was just badly thrown by the pitcher. He nearly hit the ground.
No, you know what's crazy though is that it was a bad throw, but that should have been caught. But the second baseman completely bobbled that ball. That easily should have been out. The question is did he get the ball with his foot on the bag? Did he get the ball in time as Ty France was running into second base? So we're going to find out real super quick.
I wonder what the results are on this one.
You didn't think Brianna Stewart was a dime?
You didn't think she
No, Kelsey Plum was.
Oh yeah. Oh, and the new girl. The new girl they got.
Angel Reese?
No.
I do notice that the women in the WNBA getting drafted are getting much more beautiful. Do you notice?
Nika Mule. Nika
Haven't heard.
Mule?
Oh, the one that the Storm drafted from Europe. She's pretty cute.
Sammy Whitcomb too. Wow.
Sammy Whitcomb's like 35 and she's basically the WNBA Kyle Korver.
She's a good-looking WNBA.
And how the heck do I know this?
Because you watch the WNBA. You watch Storm basketball. It's okay to say that. Yeah, it's okay to say that.
I'm an all-around sports fan. And plus, majority of NBA fans or WNBA fans are actually NBA fans.
Actually, I would say that the majority of WNBA fans are basketball fans in general.
Yeah, just basketball junkies that just cannot watch anything else for whatever reason. Like they're drugged into basketball.
I will say that I like the WNBA because it reminds me a little bit about the old NBA, where it was actually...
At least they are much more fundamental. They actually... No! Overturned?
Yeah, at second base. He's overturned at second base.
Yeah, surprised.
I was wondering if he got the ball before...
he got the ball, yeah. I'm not surprised.
Yeah, like when I watch
got a
WNBA,
runner at third base, though.
When I see WNBA basketball, I see fundamental basketball. That's just not some.
That's probably why, other than Caitlin
transition
Clark,
game.
maybe that's why more people may watch the WNBA just because they're just done watching the NBA. So maybe, and this is a chance for WNBA to really pick up steam, but they keep shooting themselves in the foot by saying, "Oh, Caitlin Clark is white privilege."
No, yeah, well, but it's also like if they harness Caitlin Clark versus Angel, whatever her name is. It's Magic versus Bird 2.0.
That's what they should be doing, but the WNBA is not doing that. They're doing it in the wrong way. But they're doing it in the wrong way.
Right. They should be capitalizing on that because it is Magic versus Bird 2.0. And like Caitlin Clark should be on the Olympic team, period. Like you're really shooting yourself in the foot by not having that.
I think Diana Taurasi and those kind of people, they had their hand on that, saying that, don't get that Caitlin Clark.
Well, but you also have to understand, like, you need eyes on women's basketball. And say what you will, she's got a built-in audience because of her college, because of that rivalry in college with LSU.
And that is a ball 2-1. It is a crime that she hasn't been called to that.
Well, it's like I remember when Sue Bird, a young Sue Bird, was on the Olympic team.
Along with Diana Taurasi for the Grease. And they're trying to say that she has no experience. And a swing and a miss, strike 2.
Like I do recall the women's Olympic team, women's basketball Olympic team, always had a roster spot for the top collegiate player that just got drafted. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, even the Dream Team brought in Christian Laettner.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you guys did it before with girls that didn't have quote unquote experience. I think it's because I actually think it's because of race issues. I think.
Also, experience in international play means nothing. People try to say that's what it is. It doesn't mean anything, especially for World Cup. You want your youngest, best players. 2-2. Right. That is outside for a ball, 3-2 for Cal Raleigh. And Cal Raleigh's got to come up with something big. And by the way, Luke Raley just stole second.
You want your highest profile players in the Olympics. And
so that's what South Korea has issues with. They always bring in, like, quote, seniority because their culture believes in seniority rules, neglecting some actual legitimate players that can contribute. 2014 was their biggest display of that.
Are you talking about South Korean soccer?
South Korean soccer with the whole they neglected the youth, except Son Heung-min. The pitch and a swing and a miss, strike 3. You see Rodriguez very passionate about that, and I am very passionately bored about this.
Another opportunity, man. You have 2 ducks on the pond, and you have the guy who has literally been your only clutch hitter right there, and it's a bad strikeout.
Ready for 2006? This was Wally Walker's final draft. This was his last chance. His last chance to redeem himself after 10 dreadful years, with the exception of 2001. Mohamed Sene of Senegal. Center, because Petro and Swift was not enough for them. Over JJ Redick, Pablo Stefalucha, Ronnie Brewer, Rajon Rondo, Kyle Lowry, Shannon Brown, Jordan Farmar.
Definitely Rajon Rondo or
JJ Redick even.
Yeah, JJ Redick too.
That's
Wally Walker.
Denham Brown over Daniel Boobie Gibson, Paul Millsap, Leon Poe. You even could have gotten anything out of Ryan Hollins. Wow. I think 2006, I think that might be his... I think that might actually be his worst one.
Because I remember when Wally Walker was the color commentator next to Kevin Calabro. Like, he was literally went from the broadcast booth to the front office. And I always thought that was kind of interesting. And it turned out that he actually married one of Barry Ackerley's daughters. That's why he
got the job.
That's why he was able to move up in that organization. And then it turned out that Jim McIlvaine, ended up marrying Wally Walker's daughter. So there's a lot of nepotism involved.
Well, the good news is for this game is George Kirby's still in there. They're still going to try to.
Yeah.
They're still very much in this game. It's a 1-0 game. This shouldn't be this hard.
To scratch out the run. To scratch out the run.
Or if Julio at least picked up the ball fast, Henderson wouldn't have ran that. Or at least had a shot at home.
Yeah, you would have had to play at the plate at the very least. I think he still goes, but I
credit George Kirby. I mean, he gave up the 1 run, but here we are in the 7th, and he's still hanging in.
83 pitches, so you might as well. Yeah, there you go, strike 3.
And you've already done it, strike 3.
Oh yeah.
I wonder how behind I am. Maybe a bit. And we got one down. The good news about the Sonics, we went through the entire Wally Walker draft history. I will definitely do that for if the Sonics are back and maybe do a pre-draft special, who did Wally Walker draft? We'll definitely go back to that.
The only good thing about the Sonics coming back is the expansion draft will at least put the franchise on at least a decent footing, because there is a lot of talent in the league right now. And so even the unprotected players, there's still going to be a couple gems there that the Sonics can at least start their build around.
We'll have to see, as Taylor Saucedo is now in the bullpen. And maybe we'll be in line to get Bryce James someday, LeBron James's other son, which, by the way, Bronny, man, that name really carried his ass.
By the way, that was the funniest thing ever. It's like you knew that was gonna.
You knew it was literally scripted.
I don't think I've ever seen an NBA draft that was built around a 2nd-round pick.
And that is going to be a base hit by Jordan Westberg.
like there was nothing in the first round that was noteworthy. Everybody was wondering how it was going to play with Bronny James, and it was like, of course he's going to the Lakers. Like,
Lakers.
No other, there was no team was going to draft him. You know what I mean? Understanding that LeBron.
I think the Lakers were like, "Hey, you're not drafting anyone. You can draft everyone, but not Bronny."
But it was like everybody understood LeBron wanted that, and Bronny keeps saying that wasn't a big thing for him, but it was like, yeah, but that was going to happen regardless.
The pitch. I just wonder if, and then hiring JJ Redick is probably going to put an influence that they're going to try to make Bronny at least a 6th man, which is going to be quite a steep jump.
I was wondering whether or not he was even going to make the team. Like, is he a G League guy?
The 1-0. And that is a ball.
But we'll see.
And Bronny's USC numbers were very underwhelming.
He's going to, I would think that he'll start the season in the Lakers rotation, and then, he'll get small minutes, but he'll get minutes, and they'll have the photo op with dad and son on the floor together. And, but I still think that LeBron should finish the career in Cleveland.
He should have, and that maybe the Cavaliers should have rallied to do it.
He's only got maybe a year or two left, and if you're gonna do the farewell tour, do it with the team that
he started with.
Yeah, do it with the team that
2-1.
That
swing and a miss, strike 2. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, Cleveland is in a completely different situation. But maybe they could have, because they don't really have a small forward. So maybe 1 or 2 years to make one more last shot for a championship, and maybe LeBron winning a championship with Cleveland one more time.
I'll tell you what, Cleveland's got a cool little cast of very good players, man. I like Cleveland.
Jarrett, it looks more attractive than the Lakers team, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then you put LeBron and Bronny on that team.
2-2.
Or you just
foul
put
ball
LeBron on it. And you just
but it's like LeBron, he lives in LA.
Yeah, but he still has the house in Akron. But I would think that for a farewell, for one last year farewell tour, regardless if they win the championship or not, you do it in a Cavs jersey.
Sadly, it won't happen.
No, it won't
The
happen.
2-2. And now here's a ground ball, and that gets right through for a base hit. You got a runner move. And Julio, what are you doing? That's the second time he's not hustling. That lack of hustle by Julio is really showing, and it's really bugging me a lot.
Now you have the runners on the corner, 1 out, and that's the other thing. It's like Polanco. I was wondering why Polanco didn't try to make a dive at it. He was there.
He was there.
He was there.
The lack of hustle is definitely what's describing this game. Like, if Julio at least jogged or sprinted, if he at least halfway sprinted, this is still a tie ball game.
Yeah, and it looks like they're gonna. Yeah, it looks like they're going to Saucedo.
And that's gonna be it. And
that's gonna be it. Still, though, very good outing. He went 6 1/3.
I mean, I don't really have much of a thing to say about that one. Usually, I'd be like, "No, Scott Service, let him stay." But when it happens 2 times in a row, you don't really have a choice.
Well, that's weird.
What, the KFC commercial?
No, they're staying with Kirby.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're staying with Kirby. Saucedo was coming down the ramp, and then he was told to hold on.
And Kirby was like, "No, I got this." Kirby
like,
actually may have stood up for himself.
Yeah, let me work out of this jam, boss.
Yeah, get out of here. Just like Mike Mussina when he yelled at Joe Torre, "Sit down."
Sit down. All right. Hey, bud.
Well, put your money where your mouth is.
Watch him give up the 3-1 bomb.
Yeah, it could happen. And then we're all going to say, Scott Service should have pulled him out, but I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that.
No. You can't have it
The
both
Julio
ways.
lack of hustle. Oh, punching win. What are we going to do without you? That I won't delete. And even if he said the other way around, I still wouldn't have deleted it. If you're just saying a bunch of innuendo jokes, I'm going to delete that.
Yeah, that was much.
And here's the 0-1.
Oh.
Now here's a ground ball, and that's going to get right through for a base hit. And that's going to be runners in the corner, and that's also going to be 2-0 Baltimore.
And my question was, where was Polanco again, man? Because that was on the other side of the second base bag, and you're playing up the middle to it, to play. You're playing double play depth,
And I think, yep, I predicted that was going to happen, and that is going to do it for George Kirby. Yep, he is definitely going to pull him out, and this time you can finally say, okay, fine, because for the Mariners level, this is a blowout.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think this might be it.
It is it, because
It's
Service already, and I wonder if Kirby's going to chuck his glove, because I would if I were him. No run support given. Defensive effort was very lackadaisical.
A little bit, man.
Like, I feel like we're the only two people that agree that Julio's lack of hustle was very concerning.
Yeah, he kind of meandered to the ball, didn't he?
He really did.
Like, he wasn't hustling. Yeah. Like, that's the thing is, like, I just want to see consistency from this baseball team. It's like,
you get good pitching performances, but the offense isn't there. And then when the offense is there, you don't get good. Like, it's right now, this team is, I hate to say it, but this team's kind of broken right now.
It is absolutely broken. I wonder what really broke this team. I wonder which series really did it. Was it the Miami series? Like, it couldn't have been the Cleveland series, really. You couldn't really fault them for the Cleveland series, but Miami and Tampa should have been easy 2 out of 3s.
Miami for sure. I mean, that's a bad team. The Nationals team in the last road trip as well too. But they came back to Seattle and they still took advantage.
They still made a run out of it.
Well, they took advantage of a bad portion of the schedule, and that's great. But I can't fault them for Cleveland. That's another first place team, and Cleveland plays Seattle tough. But Miami, there was no excuse for Miami. That was bad. That was bad.
Verizon just played a commercial where everyone's dropping their phone, and then Verizon says, "Oh yeah, switch to us and go to Verizon." I wonder if they're saying we'll have free insurance or something, but for a commercial like that, that's where you probably advertise, like, get a screen protector and a case for the phone.
It's also kind of interesting considering the T-Mobile sponsorship with the Mariners, and their, Root Sports is running a Verizon.
Verizon. I wonder if that's conflict of interest there.
I think they'll just take any type of advertising money, period.
We'll just take the money.
Yeah. It's Austin both now.
Just like how much I would take money from, I would totally take money from candidates that are trying to get themselves. I actually would do that, because if I do, I'll play the other guy for free just to make it fair.
No, I would take money. Well, depends on the candidate. Like, I wouldn't take Biden's money.
You wouldn't squeeze out his money? Maybe it was supposed to be a drop service reference. Seems like a sort of thing that people in the boardroom would draw up. Oh, the boardroom. Don't you love boardrooms? The pitch. And that is a ball, 2-0. And it's going to be Austin Voth because of a righty-righty matchup. Like Billy Bean said in Moneyball, I don't care about lefty-righties. The thing is, we had more Sonics conversation. I think the amount of time we talked about the Sonics was more than the Mariners' offense being actually swinging.
Well, I mean, we ate up 6 innings worth of Sonics talk, which was phenomenal, by the way. Just because we understood exactly how this game was going to play out,
and we already felt it. Like, I already felt it.
Yeah.
For me personally, I felt it from that party that they had.
Yeah.
So they're like out of focus, undisciplined, and we're looking at a 3-1 count. By the way,
I didn't have a problem with the party as much as you did. It's a teammate's birthday party, and it definitely shows camaraderie, but yeah, like, it's I'd rather see him taking cuts in the batting cage, personally.
And that's going to be a ball 4, and the bases are now chucked.
I wonder if these guys understand how close they are to getting their GM fired, and I wonder if that's the motivation behind this, that they don't want to play for Jerry Dipoto anymore.
54%, and we are doing you a favor.
Yeah.
But it's not like Justin Holland. But that's the thing. Firing Jerry Dipoto is not going to do anything, because if you're going to fire Jerry Dipoto, you also have to fire Justin Hollander.
I'm fine with that.
Because Justin Hollander is also a do-nothing. He's basically another yes man.
Yeah, I would be okay with that, and I would be okay with Scott Service
also being fired.
Yeah, I would be okay with that.
But whoever the next GM is, as long as they just don't build the base of the farm system, but they are also able to, as long as you don't build the base. Oh no,
I would be okay with it because I think this franchise needs a new leadership. I don't think the messaging is seeping through. I mean, there's no reason why these young players should be performing this terribly offensively.
the talent is there. There's no question. The 1-1 swing and a miss, strike 2 to Gunnar Henderson.
Bringing in a new leadership that is actually going to, shake things up and bring in ball players and bring in the actual help.
The help is desperately needed.
My gut tells me we're getting Kim Ng as GM next and soon. Maybe.
Wonder who Kim Ng is.
She was Florida's GM last year, and she didn't come back after getting the Florida Marlins to the playoffs last year.
Wonder why they got rid of her.
That's a good question. I think she didn't get along with the new president of baseball operations.
Well, does that mean that would she get along with John Stanton? Because John Stanton isn't exactly an easy guy to work with either.
Well, but also Jerry DePoto is also the president of baseball operations.
2-2.
You get rid of Jerry, then you have to get a new president.
And you got to fire Justin Hollander.
Yeah, well, yeah, of course, it's going to you clean house. So you get the new GM who's going to hire the new coach, and then you shop for a president.
And now we're looking at a 3-2.
Ooh, got him.
And here's the pitch. And that is strike 3 called. And that was on a 3-2. Like, I'm so out of touch from this game. I didn't even realize it was a full count to Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah,
I have an idea. Let's get Lee Pelakudis. Yeah, a longtime assistant GM for the Mariners, where he was nothing. To say that he was even more of a yes man is an understatement.
Well, he was the AGM, right? So I would say that. No, the first thing you do is you go get Theo Epstein as the new president of baseball operations, and you let Theo redo the front office. Yeah, I mean, he broke 2 curses. So if you like,
now we're looking at the 1-0.
You go get a guy
ball foul
doing stuff like that. Theo Epstein, 100%.
And he can contain the farm system, and he'll do whatever it takes to put the team together.
Yeah.
Like, this game is so bad that I want to do the 7th-inning stretch. That's how depressing this game is.
Throw strikes, Austin. All you got to do is throw strikes, my man. His control is
just atrocious.
Sloppy. Although that strikeout pitch to Gunnar Henderson was nice, though.
But we're still working on a 2-1 pitch with the bases loaded. The 2-1.
Adley.
And that is a foul ball, strike 2. And if I were the fans, you got to get after it. You got to stand. You got to cheer.
Adley's awesome. Adley Rutschman is awesome.
Adley Rutschman is out 0 for 3. Austin Voth is on 15 pitches, and I would imagine he's gone after this inning.
Oof.
And now here's a 2-2. And Cal Raleigh really tried that frame job desperately, but it's going to be a 3-2 count.
That ball was well outside the strike zone.
Raleigh was that desperate.
And now you got to come back with the heat now because you got to throw a strike.
You got to throw a strike.
Uh-oh.
And now here's the 3-2. And now here's a fly ball to deep right field. Not so deep. And Canzo makes the catch, and that's going to retire the side. And it's time for the 7th-inning stretch, as I could not wait to do it because that's how bad this game really is. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd.
Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back. So
let's root for the Mariners. If they don't win, it's a shame. It's already a shame because Kirby's outing's about to get wasted again.
For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes. You're out at the old ball game.
Bow, bow, now.
Bow, 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 bow.
Louie. Oh no, we gotta go now.
Gotta go.
Yeah. That's all I got. But it's a shame that they got rid of that song for freaking Macklemore. They sold the tradition out for Macklemore.
Yeah. Well, I will say this though, that the NBA does need to make Seattle whole again. I mean, the rate that they made Charlotte whole after Charlotte left, the Hornets originally left to New Orleans. Within 3 years, the Bobcats.
2 years.
Yeah, I mean, within 3 years, the Bobcats were back online and playing ball games, and it's like, the fact that they haven't made Seattle whole is ridiculous.
I mean, the way that Seattle handled stadium situations after stadium situations was also atrocious. Like,
yeah, the reason why they haven't done it, and they probably could have done it sooner rather than later, is when Seattle took Clay Bennett to court. That rubbed David Stern the wrong way.
And it was a very unnecessary lawsuit.
David Stern wanted them to break their lease and let him move to Oklahoma City quietly, and then maybe through backdoor channeling, Seattle would have gotten with Steve Ballmer, Seattle would have gotten an expansion team within 5 years.
But then he saw the red flags out of Greg Nichols and the entire state leadership.
That could have been, they would have let that go. But that lawsuit, and it was a bad lawsuit too, because there was no promise of an expansion team within 5 years.
The 1-1, and there was no reason to do it, because that's like you have a tenant, but you're suing to hold them to a lease that they already have.
What you do is you don't just sue Clay Bennett, you sue Clay Bennett in the NBA, and for breach of contract, and with the eye of making sure that, okay, fine, we'll let you go, but there's got to be an expansion team within 5 years. Period, point blank. That's what Slade Gordon did with Major League Baseball. Like, if you want to break the lease and move this team, then there has to be a promissory
and 3-2. Slade Gordon was the man.
Yeah,
he was also a final Republican senator in Washington history.
Yeah, I mean, he was a
3-2.
He understood.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Why am I not surprised?
He understood what professional sports do for a local economy, and he was very big on. He was very, he had the foresight to understand exactly how important professional sports were to a local economy, because they do generate a lot of income. And
here's the pitch to Canzone, and that's a wild pitch. And Slade Gordon was trying to save the Sonics last minute when he was not even serving anything. He was not even working, but he came out of his retirement to try to get something done. And he did more work than what Greg Nichols did, the pitch. And that is a strike. And you never saw Greg Nichols even visit the NBA.
The crazy thing was, when the Pilots left in '69, he understood. I mean, that was 81 ball games a year that the city is not generating revenue on tax.
1-1.
And so that was a very big thing that he did. But and he understood the same thing with the Sonics, and where they were playing was in Seattle Center. That the Sonics were the life force of Seattle Center, playing 41 games there throughout the winter.
2-1.
That was the only.
And that's a ground ball foul, strike 2. And we are seeing, once again, very uninspired basketball, so much that we're talking about the legacy of Slade Gordon, which, by the way, he tragically lost to the current senator, Maria Cantwell, who's probably in the formality of another re-election. The 2-2 foul ball. I mean, there's no other opponent that has even put their name on the ticket to even go up. So she's pretty much already won.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, regardless of, even if there's a very good popular Republican candidate that actually has
2-2. And now here's a line trot foul.
That has the backing, and it's actually quite popular with people. That candidate would still lose, unfortunately.
Which is tragic. Like, the fun fact was Dino Rossi was the closest candidate get rid of Patty Murray. He was actually the closest.
Yeah, and well, now we got Dave Reichert running for governor, which is it's nice. I like Dave Reichert. Good guy.
I'm a Bird guy, but I mean, if he's on the ballot, then it is what it is. But I don't think that both of them combined have a chance against Ferguson. He's too much of a juggernaut in Washington.
Yeah, it's unfortunate about Ferguson.
The 2-2. The only good thing he did was he submitted a vote to say yes to the Soto Arena. That's literally the reason why he became Attorney General. And that Reagan Dunn wasn't exactly a good candidate to vote for either. And we're looking at the 3-2 pitch. And that is up high for ball 4. And Canzone gets on base for the walk. And Canzone, this is for you. And looks like that's going to be it for the starter for Rodriguez. He pitched absolutely fantastic. He had 8 strikeouts. He pitched an absolute beauty, and Brandon Hyde is now going to take him out. And also, I was also going to show you guys that I do have a video that's still on the upswing. It's the video where I criticize Scott Service for not letting Luis Castillo even lay down a bunt. People are still watching, including a fan from Cincinnati saying, Reds fan here, I remember Castillo was an above-average hitting pitcher in his time in Cincinnati, and Scott Service forgot about that. Now, to his defense, he hasn't swung anything in 3 years, but at least lay down the bunt.
You can't. Your offense is not existent, and you can't afford to give away outs.
And that's what Service is doing. And
with the fact that you had Rayleigh on at second base, right? So it's like you have speed on the base paths. So, if he drops down a bunt, you at worst you have a runner on third base, and Castillo's out at first base. I mean,
You just to have him go up there and just hold a bat is ridiculous.
Emmett Brown, you are back. Scott the Service is my least favorite Mariner. I mean, honestly, he actually might be my least favorite manager of all time. Okay, let's play this game. Since Lou Piniella, do you use this manager over Scott Service? I will start with, obviously, Bob Melvin. Do you pick him over Scott Service? 10 times out of 10, you would.
100%.
Mike Hargrove. No question.
100%.
And here's the pitch. And, wait, it's still on. We're still back from the break. They're just showing the highlights.
100%.
John McLaren, interim manager.
I'd probably take Service.
Yeah, and it's almost a push. Almost.
Yeah, I'd still take Service.
Don Wakamatsu.
I'd take Walk. He got a
Jim Riggleman. And looks like we are back.
Riggleman didn't have any talent when he was here.
He had nothing to work with. It was a kind of pointless time. And now here is Julio Rodriguez. And here's the pitch. And that is a strike. And Julio, this is your opportunity to be a hero by hitting a 2-run home run, or at least advancing runners.
Julio, those pitches he crushed in 2022 and 2023 in the second half.
And what the hell is he doing now? The pitch. And now here's a ground ball, probably going to be a double play ball. Throw to second, the throw to first, and not in time, but nothing is being advancing. This is very uninspiring. There's nothing to cheer about on that one. And I think you still have fans not really saying anything, at least.
No.
At least. That doesn't even count.
Yeah. Fielder's choice. Who would you take? Would you take Lloyd McClendon or Scott Service?
Lloyd McClendon, because at least he has that in-your-face attitude. And it's not saying much at all. It's they're almost the same managers.
How about Eric Wedge or Scott Service?
Eric Wedge, 100. I'm punching that thing 100 times because Eric Wedge was put on an atrocious situation. He was put in the impossible situation.
Yeah, plus he had the coolest
mustache.
He had a great mustache, but he also was a part of one of the best commercials in Mariners history.
And I'll
Yeah.
reenact that on the commercial break. And now here's the 0-1. Swing and a miss, strike 2, and this is
Larry.
hard to watch.
I'm not Felix. I'm Larry. Larry
Bernandez. Get out of here.
That's funny. Larry.
There were
Bernandez.
times in that season that I was like, no, let Felix pitch that. Let Bernandez pitch.
Yeah, no, because that's the thing. It's like that entire season. It was, it wasn't Felix Hernandez. It was Larry Bernandez.
The 0-2.
There was even fans that had custom jerseys that had Bernandez.
Bernandez, yeah. Felix will always go down as the most tragic hero in Mariners history. It's really sad how it all turned out. The throw to first.
There's a couple.
Not in time.
There's a couple because like, for as bad as the Mariners were to waste his prime, they wasted Ichiro's prime too.
Ichiro also tragic.
Kyle Seager, definitely
Tragic. Especially the way he was handled. The 1-2, like the way that Kevin Mather talked about him, was like he's overpaid and we're not going to bring him back. Like absolute slap in the face to a franchise player.
Yeah.
And that's why Kyle Seager has no connections with the Mariners. And that's why Corey Seager even popped off and said, oh, yeah, we have an owner that spends money, which he was basically saying F you, Mariners, for his brother.
Yeah. The
2-2.
the way that they did him was terrible. Like they didn't have the gall to tell him to his face. They didn't even pick up the phone. They did it via email. It's like that's
disgusting.
That's your way of leaving town, which is why Kyle Seager hasn't been back.
No, and he won't, and he shouldn't.
That's
the
the
pitch.
crazy things. When
Swing and a miss, strike 3, and down goes Mitch Haniger, and that's going to retire the side. And I wonder if the fans are booing. They're not even booing. This is the perfect time to boo. Everyone who is texting on this chat right now, everyone put boos right now. We got to boo this team virtually. Like, if we can't boo at the stadium right now, we're booing this team virtually on this channel. They deserve boos, and look how Julio has done. He's like 2 for something after that standing ovation they gave him. I thought that standing ovation was a horrible idea. We can all put that in the bank that the standing ovation was unnecessary, and it made everything worse. And to make everyone feel better, I'm going to show you guys a video of me playing catch with Lázaro Montes. Recently, I played catch with Mariners minor league star Lázaro Montes. What kind of a throw was that? Well, what do you think of that, fans? Put in the comments. And also, if you guys could do me a favor, do a couple things. If you are going to the Mariners Blue Jays game this weekend, use my promo code Rooftop Sports for your $20 off. And also, if you could donate to this channel as well, that would also be very helpful. Do it through the YouTube Super Chats or do it through my Venmo account. And if you, definitely support this channel because I want to do cool things in the future, like road trips in the future or something like, or go to more Mariners games and minor league baseball games. Let's make it happen, guys. And we are back from the break, and I don't think Austin Voth is going to be pitching this inning. I think they're going to pull him out. And it's going to be Colin Snyder, who very uninspiring, unfortunately.
Yeah, the call up when they sent
Diaz.
Brian Wu, no, they sent
Brian
Brian
Wu
Wu down to the DL. Yeah, they called up Colin Snyder.
And which, by the way, Mitch Garver is unavailable because of his injury. And now here's the pitch. And
Which is why Zebby Savala is now a Mariner again. So, congratulations.
Yeah.
To Zebby.
Got a job again.
And I'm curious to see if they're actually going to use him.
Yeah, they're just use him for emergencies, I guess.
Or if they're gonna continue to drill Cal Raleigh into the dirt.
That guy is getting burned out. The pitch.
No, dude, it's like you're gonna
swing and a miss, strike 2. Like, you feel bad for the guy. You really
It's
do.
like I don't really don't give a damn
pitchers don't like throwing to Zebby. It's like Cal needs a day. You can suck it up for a day and give him a day off. You know what I mean? Like do it going into
if you had a 10-game lead, it'd be much easier to do that.
Right, but what you do is you do it going into it into an off day. And give
you
Cal
do
2
it
days.
like
You
do
can
it like
give
if at this point, do it if you win a series already, then do it.
you know my thing is like do it going that's
2-2 pitch. And here's a ground ball, and that's going to get right through for a base hit. That's a fair ball, and he's definitely going to go to second base on that one, and he does get to second base. And we got a man on second base with no outs.
you do it before you go into an off day, and that gives Cal 2 full days to recharge his batteries,
Which he absolutely needs.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was a base hit, and then Luke Raley comes over and holds the ball while O'Hearn turns the corner. Uninspiring defense today, man.
Very much. And one of my friends, Hannah, she's putting out a point that maybe Julio had quite the lack of effort. And then we have a Mariners fan going, that is absolutely not a super weak effort. He came in hard. You can't risk diving in there.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Nope, I guess. Well, we'll be on different ends on that, but that's more than okay. Like, different opinions are always okay.
No, I understand the opinion. I understand that opinion.
We got an 0-1, and here is the pitch. Now, here's a ground ball. Won't be double play, obviously. The throw to first, and that is in time, man. Punching Wind is giving a lot of emojis. I hope you're subscribed to my channel at least. If you are, that'd be great. People are still watching that Scott Service Luis Castillo. I really nailed the algorithm on that one.
Yeah, you did, man.
And I just got 10 subs for a short video about the Sonics and 30 subs away from the magic number of 2,000.
Whoop.
It's been quite the grind. I mean, I think a lot of people are surprised where I am right now, including other competitors.
You're working hard, man.
0-1. And that is up high for a ball 1-1. I may not have the Seattle baseball connections, but I'm still producing things. I'm still giving people something to watch at least.
Yeah, for sure, man. You're working hard. Yeah, man. Yeah.
You're a Royals fan, Punching Wind. I see you, Bobby Witt Jr., baby.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Divish in a while, man. It's been a while since I talked to Divish. I used to back when Jeff Baker was on the beat. I used to talk with Baker. Well, Baker. I mean, he was a good.
And that is up high for a ball 2-2.
He took off and ended up being he went into a sports financial role, and then he ended up being the Kraken beat writer.
He got what he wanted.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The 2-2. And now here's a fly ball to left field, and that will be caught. And he was actually one of the challengers of the incompetent Mariners management too.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, his legacy to Sonics fans are also remembered for his anti-stance on Soto Arena. But hey, he was working in Seattle Times, so he didn't really have much of a choice but to, unfortunately, be in that role. He probably didn't even like that role either.
I always wonder whether his stance was not necessarily with the arena, but also with Chris Hansen. I had it on good authority that he rubbed a lot of media
he rubbed everyone the wrong way.
Yeah.
There are some things that he would say. It's like, you didn't even have to say that kind of thing.
Guys who were on the air with KJR at the time loved him and had him on their air all the time.
Dave Softy would talk to him talk about him like he was a god.
Yeah, and I think Ian Furness as well too.
Furness loved him. Mitch in the Morning liked him. Brian Apker loved him.
Yeah, and I actually remember talking with Ian Furness a few times about.
And here's a ground ball. Throw to first in time, and great fielding by Josh Rojas on that one. We go to the bottom of the 8th, and here's a reminder for you, Mariners. You're only down 2-0. You
Yeah,
can still make a comeback.
Yeah, I remember talking to him about it, like asking him if if Hansen was the real deal. You know what I mean? Because there was a lot like when you're looking at it on the surface, you're wondering what the play is. If it really is about bringing the Sonics back, or if this is a financial play. And I just asked him his thoughts. Like, man, do you think he's the real deal? And of course, there was a lot of bias because they're bringing the Sonics back. So yeah, there's always going to be a bias towards that because that's what everybody wanted at the time. But that's the thing. It's like there's a reason why he got Ballmer on board. So that says a lot.
He really did. But also what didn't help was when Street Vacation was voted down in 2016, not only did you have a bunch of port people, but you also had a progressive people that really took advantage of it politically, saying that Sonics fans are a bunch of right-wing misogynists against women, when basketball fans were actually season ticket holders, and actually told the council, was like, hey, you can't, I'm also a season ticket holder for the Storm. And and of course they brushed it off.
No, it's ridiculous, and what's funny is you hear the same drivel, like we don't want to finance privatized billionaires, and it's like, well, wait a second, because you financed Google, you financed Amazon all the time. It's like you guys bankroll billionaires all the time. You just pick and choose the ones that you want to work with, right? So it was those arguments are always ridiculous. But
what makes it more ironic is City of Seattle's politics. They are all about the progressive for the people of color, and yet they turned away a stadium based on a league that is dominated by minorities, which I found extreme hypocrisy.
Yeah, for sure. But really what it was they wanted Chris Hansen to take over Key Arena. He didn't want to do it, and when the debacle in Sacramento went down, that ultimately cost him the Sacramento Kings. He wanted the Street Vacation after the fact, and it was like, you have no team you're bringing anyway. So they just used that as an excuse, but really they didn't like him because he wouldn't play ball.
He never played the political game. That was his biggest mistake.
Right. For sure. He had some council members that.
And now here's a fly ball popped up. Dylan Moore pinch hitting and going to right field.
He had a couple council members that were on his side, but he just didn't have the
Bruce Harrell, Mike O'Brien, Tim Burgess, and there was a fourth one, Mike O'Brien, who was also very unpopular.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, like, he got Tim Burgess on board, who was
which is really hard to do.
Yeah, because he was a vocal opponent of
the arena.
Anything that had anything to do with Howard Schultz, right? So
yeah.
And to get him on board was a coup, but to get the female members of the council on board was a different story. But
one. And actually, ironically, you could actually put the responsibilities of Shama Sawant on the Sonicscape boys that made that documentary, and they endorsed the hell out of her because they were upset with Richard Conlon. But then when I got to know them, I'll tell you later. And here is the 0-2 pitch to J.P. Crawford, and that is a foul ball. And actually, after getting to know the Sonicscape boys, they were actually pro Shama Sawant no matter what. So it was based on their own agenda rather than getting Richard Conlon out.
Right. Shama Sawant was one of the worst city councilwomen.
She might be in history of America.
Yeah, one of the worst in the history of Seattle for sure.
And I had our friend Brian Robinson, if you know him, he actually warned Sonicscape, don't do this, just go with Richard Conlon, and they didn't listen to him. Yeah. And he knows about it more than anything. And I'm also a friend of his too. The 1-2 pitch.
No.
Did he go? He did not. It's going to be a 2-2 count.
I don't know. But that whole, bring back the Sonics movement was also, I don't know. I have mixed emotions about that.
It was a very painful experience, but I learned a lot from it. 2-2, and here is a ground ball right to the pitcher, tossed to first, and in time. This has been, I think this up here is probably the most uninspiring baseball I have ever seen this entire season. I think this is the worst game I've covered in my last.
It's pretty bad.
Like, the Brian Wu game was bad. Like I actually fell asleep covering it. But at least there was never hope anyway. But this is frustrating because there is hope, and this is happening.
Not really. There's not a lot of hope in this. There's not a lot of hope because, I mean, they've had a couple innings where they've had runners in scoring position with no avail, and it just seems like every single at bat, it's the same results. They're not, they get pitches to hit, they're not turning on it, and they're swinging at bad. Like this is every single at bat, with the exception of Josh Rojas. Like he's got the only
performer.
Yeah, he's got a couple hits tonight.
We're looking at the 1-1, and here is the pitch, and that is outside for a ball.
2021-2022, Ty France absolutely crushed left-handed pitching, and
now
for a
he's
guy that spent the entire
himself.
offseason, for a guy that's spent the entire offseason developing pull side power, there you go.
The 2-1, and now here is a fly ball to deep left field, and that is.
There you go. Good play in left field, I guess. But that was, yeah.
I think that was actually worth making it into a YouTube short. Here's a fly ball, and I just laugh.
Yeah, I remember back in the day I was asked to be a part of Save Our Sonics, and I said no.
With Brian Robinson and Stephen Pyatt?
I mean, there was a couple guys that I didn't necessarily think were genuine about it. So
those were the guys, Stephen Pyatt and Brian Robinson.
I'm not speaking about those two particularly.
Oh, those two. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope Brian wasn't here to hear that because he's actually a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
I've only talked to Brian a couple times, and he seems like he's a pretty good guy. I don't know him well, but didn't want to get involved. That's the thing. It's like, to be honest with you, I thought it was a fruitless endeavor. It had nothing to do with that being on the the wrong side or the right side of history. At that point, it was like, okay, great, man, you're starting a grassroots organization, but at the end of the day, it's about getting one guy to sell his interest in a stake. That is never going to happen at all. Like there was nothing that Clay Bennett and Audrey McClendon were going to do to sell that to local investors. It was never going to happen. Right. The focus should have been on putting pressure on the city of Seattle,
or the city of Seattle,
the city of Seattle, because if it was going to go that direction anyways, and it's getting a hold of your local city councilman to make sure that if they're going to sue, make sure that there's an expansion team attached to this. Like that was the direction they should have gone, because it's like, understand that that's going to happen regardless of what you say. You have rallies and you have Gary Payton, Save Our Sonics, all that good stuff, that they were going to leave regardless, right? So you put pressure on the city politicians to make sure that if you sue, you do it right, and make sure that at least there's if you settle, there's an expansion team that we're looking forward to in 5 years.
That should have been part of the negotiations, and Greg Nichols didn't bother.
100%.
And I think he would have had a negotiating tactic but the thing is, they would have had to have a stadium anyway. So then they would have had, let's pass the stadium. So you would have had to...
Right. But with an expansion team tacked on to that particular lawsuit, that probably would have prompted the state legislator to kick in some money so they get the extra whatever money was attached to that lawsuit. Right, so at least the wheels would have been moving to get some sort of funding in place. And then you would have had Steve Ballmer attached to it as well too. So
Steve Ballmer genuinely tried, except when he saw everything with Seattle, that the Soto Arena barely passed, and when Sacramento failed, he pretty much got burned out.
Yeah, it was like, if you attached an expansion team,
and now here's a line drive, and that is going to be a base hit. And when Mike Bauman's pitching, that this game is pretty much over.
Yeah. And it's weird. I like Bauman, but facing his former team. But Yeah, that was the one thing. It's like if you're going to sue, looking for a settlement, you make sure that all your ducks in a row and you have the NBA involved. Where we're not going to settle unless there's an expansion team tacked to this, and we'll make sure we take care of it financially on our end, so we get something. We get something done as far as some kind of funding for a new arena, and we have Steve Ballmer attached to it, so he'll be the owner. He'll pay the expansion fees, and
from what I would understand, I don't think Greg Nichols and Steve Ballmer had even a phone call.
No. Right. But then again, it's like you have to get the right parties in the room.
John Stanton was also part of that group too.
And that would have been the directive of what I thought Save Our Sonics should have been doing, which is that should have been the sole focus, is understanding that.
They really could have used your contributions, honestly, I think. I don't know if they would have listened, but
yeah, probably not. But it's not about the short play, it's about the long play, because you have to understand exactly how this is gonna, like, they're leaving regardless. Like, that's gonna happen. That's going to happen. It's making sure that you ensure that the NBA stays in Seattle within 5 years, is back, and it's healthy and it's vibrant.
That's the thing. Like, one thing I learned about Seattle politics is it's a very burning thing to be a part of. And I was part of the whole Soto thing. It was a painful experience.
Like, you have to understand the city of Seattle, and they don't care about professional sports in the city of Seattle. And this dates back to the 1960s when the World's Fair came into town. And even back then, they were trying to get Major League Baseball to Seattle. And even then, the city government did not want to, were not interested in making Seattle a quote unquote a major league town. They were quite happy with being a minor league town with the Husky football team. That they were perfectly fine with that. They really didn't want to build the Kingdome. They really didn't.
Key Arena was the Seattle Coliseum was supposed to be a temporary building. Too.
Right. Well, when the Sonics came to town, nobody knew about it. They just showed up one day, and when Sam.
We have a basketball team. Cool.
Yeah. That's exactly how it was, right? They were just like, okay. The city didn't do anything to bring him in, and when the pilots did come, they basically bent him over a barrel and were not willing to help him out with renovations at Six Stadium, and that's the thing. It's like, and then in the 90s when the Mariners were trying to get a new stadium.
Although in retrospect, that we could say that Six Stadium site would have easily been the worst location of a stadium when we look back on it, because every time I drive through there, and even without traffic, it's an absolute pain to navigate.
Yeah, but back in the day when we didn't have the population that Seattle has now, it actually was
And now here's a throw to second, and that is in time, and Cal Raleigh throws him out, and the awkward moment where Cal Raleigh has more throwouts than the Mariners scoring runs.
Yeah, back in the day, that was actually a very good location for a minor league stadium, because you had the breeze and you had the location with the mountain off the outside the right field wall, and plus it was when it was first built, it was a really good destination for professional baseball. But as the years went by, you're right, it became kind of a bad location as the population boomed. But Seattle never gave a damn about its professional sports teams. It was just interested in the tax revenue of what it can provide them, and that's what it is, man. Seattle politics is like, you do us a favor, you rub our shoulders, we'll rub yours.
And if only Chris Hansen even maybe funded one campaign, he could have gotten what he wanted. Dennis Strand says that sounds like Portland. That's how their city government works. I mean, Portland and Seattle is basically the same thing.
Same thing. Paul Allen had a good plan. Paul Allen got the Rose Garden built down in Portland, and he did it the same way that he got Seahawks.
We all deeply miss Paul Allen. We really do.
He came in with the right plan. He said, listen, I'll buy the team. I'll put up 50% of the stadium, and I'll pay for the cost overruns. But the city should help, because they're going to financially benefit too. And it passed. The voters passed it.
That sounds like
he came
correct. The Lumen Field deal is probably the best deal that has ever happened, other than before the OVG. I mean, OVG is easily the best one because they didn't ask for any taxes.
That was a sweetheart deal.
When Shama Sawant voted for the authorization for the renovation, you know that was a good deal.
Well, they took it off the city's hands. They took the operation, the entire Seattle Center and its operation off the city's hands. They took care of the debt, and that's why you think they passed it. It was a sweetheart deal.
And the funniest part was Shama Sawant was still like, well, I hate you, OVG, because you're capitalist pigs, but okay, but because you're not asking for public money, fine, I'll give you a vote. Yeah. I actually wish he said no just so I could laugh, because it would have been funny. And a swing and a miss, strike 3, and that's going to retire the side. 1-2-3 inning by Bauman.
Yeah.
Last try for the Mariners. Craig Kimbrell is going to be up for the mound. We got Luke Raley.
What's funny is she talks about capitalist pigs, yet she gives Google and she gives Amazon all the tax breaks in the world.
And she uses Amazon to sell her books.
Yeah, I know. It's funny though, because it's like, you want to sit there and spill your rhetoric, yet you constantly give tax breaks to Google and Amazon because they quote unquote bring jobs to the region. But no. It's
I actually have a joke. Who are the biggest capitalists? Socialist dictators are the biggest capitalists.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they tell the people, rules for the thee, but not for me.
That's exactly right.
That's why you can't take them seriously.
Right, but that's why they can't be elected into government because that's the way that they run things. It's they're egotistical and they want power. They thrive on power and they want it. And
the other thing
anybody that gets into politics that wants that's their main goal, and to not serve their communities, it's somebody I can't vote for.
The other thing that was also cringeworthy was Paul Allen was one of the biggest philanthropists we ever saw in Seattle. Did a lot for the community, Seahawks, a lot of local stuff. And yet, after his death, Shama Sawant still said that it was not enough. Yeah. She still went a full-blown attacking. And
fuck her for attacking a dead man that gave a lot.
Yeah, it was disgusting.
Saved basketball in the city of Portland, and he saved football in the city of Seattle, and he did it.
Got them a Super Bowl.
He did it responsibly and ethically, and he also donated a lot of money to the Seattle Center. He got an EMP built, and he did a lot of charity work in this region. So to sit there and say that it was not enough, to hate on somebody because he just so happens to be a billionaire is ridiculous.
I mean, that's a dream that some of us have. I have a dream my goal is to be a millionaire someday, and obviously that is possible with my retirement funds, but it's about being at least somewhere respectable before that. I mean, I think the millionaire thing will happen as long as I am responsible with that retirement funds. I'm probably going
to... my goal is to potentially get married again, but also to earn a living where my bills are paid and I'm comfortable. That's it.
That's what we need.
What I mean? Yeah, don't get me wrong. It would be great to clock a few $1 million. That would be great. But that's not my primary goal. My primary goal is to dabble in real estate a little bit and just create sources of income where I don't have to worry about bills and I can pass something on to my kids. That's it.
Yep. The 0-1. And that is inside for that actually hit him. And Luke Raley gets on base and he'll take one for the team.
So let's steal some bases.
Luke Raley might be the most blue-collar type guy that we have on this team.
Yeah,
he's a big dude, and he runs and he hustles.
His playing style reminds me of Bone. Jay Buhner was the same.
Jay Buhner, yeah.
Blue-collar guy.
The type of guy that you want to have a beer with, you know what I mean?
Luke Raley is one of them, too. And now here's the big dumper, Cal Raleigh, and we've got the tying run at the plate. Maybe something happens. I'm probably going to jinx it. And now here's the pitch, and that is in there for a strike. And if I'm Luke Raley, I would go steal second base if I were you. So to neutralize any chance of a double play.
Yep, just get the game in motion. He's got that weird herky-jerky motion.
And now we're looking at the pitch, and here it is, and that is going to be outside for a ball. And I just don't understand why they're not even authorizing the steal bases. If I'm Luke Raley, just do it. I mean, Scott Service has done so poorly that he doesn't even deserve to. He deserves the insubordination against him.
Well,
The
I think
1-1.
it's because the reason why you don't is because you don't want to take unnecessary outs, but you kind of want to be aggressive.
You really do and you want to give some kind of inspirations for the batters behind Cal Raleigh.
Well, with 2-1, 2-1 now 3-1, you're going to get something to hit. So why not put the hit and run in motion? Because you're going to stay out of the double play, even if there's any ball on the ground.
With Luke Raley going,
you're going to stay out of the double play.
The sad thing is, when I was doing the live show on Friday, the game was so uninspiring. And now here's the 3-1 pitch. And now here's a fly ball to right field. And that is that foul? Is that fair?
It's just foul.
Oh, I swear. I want to know how many.
That was his pitch. He got the fastball right down the heart of the plate.
I wonder if Scott Service is going to maybe call for a review if he can even do that.
Oh, it's foul. And that's the thing. It's like he gets the fastball and he just gets out in front of it just a little early. And like that was your tie ball game right there.
No, but yeah, what I was saying on Friday was the game was so uninspiring that even when they got the game-winning run, I still didn't sound excited. Like I didn't scream on top of my lungs at all.
Oh, cow.
And now we're looking at the 3-2, the pitch, and a swing and a miss, strike 3, and we got one down. Like this game really does stink the big one. It really does. Oh, looks like I'm getting a warning that the market may drop tomorrow, huh? I wonder if I should just sell all my assets. Except my retirement funds, obviously. And now here is the pitch to Polanco, and that is low for a ball. Dog days of summer. Mariners have 3 walk-off wins and first 3 bark at the park nights. So I guess this is another dog day, I guess. And now we're looking at the 1-0, and here's the pitch. And that gets away, and Luke Raley will get a free bag to second base. And now we're looking at a 2-0 count, and personally, I think I would have maybe put in Ryan Bliss, but because he has no bats, at this point, if they're not going to use Ryan Bliss at all, I think there's just no reason to use him. I think you send him down.
Well, there you go. So that, I think they're just going to intentionally walk.
They did intentionally walk him. Which I will take that. That's a win already in itself.
And I wonder if
Ryan Bliss, I think, is going to be the pinch runner, or Victor Robles.
And so here's Dom Canzone.
Dom Canzone, who has either the most beautiful home run swing aside from Griffey or the ugliest strikeout swing ever.
He is the black hole. Yep, you're right. Ryan Bliss will take over at first base.
That's why they're still keeping him, because they still want his legs. But the thing is, I just feel bad that his batting is pretty much going to be gone.
They're saying maybe the ball hit his foot, maybe?
Yeah, it went through his... I think it may have touched the shoelaces.
Okay.
And it looks like we got some more people tuned into this game, as we have 35 concurrent viewers on all of our platforms.
Whoop. Well, there's something brewing here in the bottom of the ninth.
That's why people are tuning in, because they want to see how this is going. And good thing the game is actually kind of interesting, because we were just talking Sonics basketball and city politics.
Got to talk about something in a game that showed very little heartbeat until the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, which is sad. I feel bad, but it's like Mariners don't even give us anything to talk about. I mean, it's so painful. I can't even talk about Mariners nostalgia even.
You know what? I'll say this for Dom Canzone. He should be looking at fastball 100% of the time.
He really should. He's batting .216 with 7 home runs, and here's the pitch. And a swing and a miss. Does that move anyone? Nope, it does not.
Yeah, and it's like that's counterproductive. Like he should just be sitting on fastball. Anything that breaks, if it's close to the plate, swing. But
that one's not even close to over the plate.
Right. He's got he's right now he's looking to be the hero instead of just
he's not just advance the runners at this point. And now here's the 0-1, And now here's a ground ball that could be nope, not going to be a double play, but that's going to be 2 outs. But you got runners on second and third, and I wonder who's going to be up to the plate. And I didn't like that swing either. And it's going to be Julio Rodriguez to be the hero, and I don't think he's going to be a hero because he was so invested in taking a picture of a stupid party. And then the only reason I'm saying it's stupid is because we're down 2-0. But Julio Rodriguez is up, and I'm going to say this: if Julio hits a home run. Actually, I don't even know what to bet on at this point. Let's just get this win.
I'll tell you what, if he hits a dinger, that just might be what gets Julio back in group. But that being said, it's like, oof. Yeah, like, you know,
you already feel at the pitch, and that is a foul ball right on the inside corner.
Right, and he's late to the fastball. He gets the fastball in instead of trying to pull that ball down the left field line, get out of front a little bit. You know, he's late on the fastball. And it's like, in this situation, that's the only thing you should be looking for is a fastball in this situation.
And we're looking at the 0-1 in the pitch. And that is outside for a ball. Yeah, if he hits it anywhere in the gap, this ball game is tied, especially with Luke Raley's feet and Ryan Bliss's feet. He doesn't even have to hit a home run. You just gotta make something interesting.
A base hit anywhere scores 2.
A little blooper.
Yep.
And now here's the 1-1. And now here's a fly ball. He was trying to be the hero, and that's fouled, and the Mariners are down to their final strike. And if there are betting odds about if Julio's going to strike out, the odds are pretty high on this one.
And there it is again, fastball. And it was in the upper outside quadrant, but it's still a hittable pitch.
No, that's a meatball pitch that you want. That's what gets you to the opposite side, and now get 2 runs in. And now we're looking at the last strike. Here's the pitch, and that is foul, and that nearly ended the game.
Yep, and he gets a piece of it. But, yeah, that was the right pitch. You're going to see fastball high.
Like, I would like this. Like, if I don't know, 16 pitches for Kimbrel. But if I'm Baltimore fans, you don't really have to stress out about anything. You got J.P. Crawford looking uninspired, and we're looking at a 1-2. Julio 0 for 3. And here is the pitch. And that is a swing and a miss, strike 3, and the ball game is over. A horrible pitch to swing, and on a very horrible swing. And the Baltimore Orioles take game 1 of this 3-game series. And must I say, what a very disappointing outing by Julio Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's not just Julio. It's
the entire team.
It's the entire team. You know, listen. So the Orioles score 2 runs. Granted, you know, credit Seattle pitching for only holding them to 2 runs, but they did get 9 hits. Okay. The Mariners get shut out and only managed 2 hits. Those 2 hits came from Josh Rojas. That's it.
He carried this entire team by himself, literally.
But that's not even carrying the team. That's nothing. That's just 2 hits. This is what needs to happen immediately. Okay. What happens immediately? So listen, because you can't blame anybody at this point. They've already fired their hitting coach, and this is still a problem. Okay. This is still a very big problem. And you either need to fire your head coach, you need to fire your coach.
Manager's got service.
Yep. And just use an interim and simplify things to the point where it's like, just you tell hitters straight up, don't think about anything when you come to the plate. If it's straight, hit it. If not, whatever. But it's either that or you hold a mandatory team meeting and you start holding people accountable.
And Scott Servais doesn't seem to have that caliber to even do that.
Right. It's like, no, you club behind you keep media out of the clubhouse, and you hold a team meeting, and you go around and you ask, what's bothering you? What is the reason for your inability to hit a fastball? And you hold people accountable. And you do, because, you know, they had the team meeting last year and it seemed to work. They had the team meeting the year before. They got into a fight in Anaheim and it seemed to galvanize something. It's like, what is it going to take to get this group to have confidence and start believing in itself again? Because like you said, like you and I both agree, the talent is there.
Talent is 100% there. Like, we all agree that great manager Lou Piniella, he would have killed CB Bucknor for this team.
Yeah, and it's like, listen, I mean, it is what it is. You're probably not going to fire your coach, but that being said, you made a big deal about hiring Brant Brown in the offseason to be your quote unquote offensive coordinator, and you fired him. Okay, fine. It wasn't a good fit, whatever. But now this is on Scott Service. This is on Scott Service. Granted, he's not stepping into the batter's box. It is on the players. They got to perform. But is the messaging even getting through to the players anymore? Like, are they tuning out Scott Service?
I really think they are, and I think the play shows it. Like, you saw Julio's lack of hustle, very bad plate disciplines, like,
yeah,
and the fact but the whole connecting with your players is just not going to do it.
If you've lost the locker room, you do not belong to be there. You have lost your ability. You have lost your right to be there. And that's my question. Has he lost? Is his voice being drowned out? Are the players in tune? And if they're not, he's got to go.
I mean, I could relate to that because we talked about it on Monday that when I was working at Best Buy.
You're playing a playoff team right now in the Baltimore Orioles. This is a playoff team. And these are usually the series that the Mariners show up for. Not just division rivals, Texas, Houston, which they do show up for, but these are the type of series that they show up for. Yeah, like we can take pot shots about them for looking horrible against Washington and the Marlins because they do tend to play down to bad teams, but they show up for good teams. And this isn't just tip your cat to Grayson Rodriguez because that's like he walked a bunch. They just couldn't get a base hit. You know what I mean? It's like
he had 4 walks.
They show up for these type of games, and they're not showing up for these games anymore.
My thing about Service, and I've already said it, we talked about it on the Monday show, but when I was working at a different Best Buy in 2016 through 19, I had 2 different managers. And this is, I know you heard this already, but this is for the fans that are still here. The first manager that I had there, he was a complete hard ass. Like let's just say he was basically like a Lou Piniella or a Jim Leland. Nobody liked him as a person. They hated him as a person. They thought he was an asshole. He was tough on me. He was tough on everyone. But here was the thing. Things got done. People performed. He held people accountable. Nobody liked him. But here's the thing. If they didn't say they didn't like him just because of personality, they at least respected him because he ran the team. And then the next manager I had, he was a total Scott Service where he basically let everyone do what they want. No accountability is held unless there was something very obvious. But the thing was that people liked him as a person. Cool guy, down to earth, cool guy. But then when it came to like as a manager, nobody respected him. And this is what we're seeing right now.
My current boss, young guy, and when he got hired in, he wanted to throw his weight around a little bit. And he started rubbing a lot of guys the wrong way, especially guys that had been there for 20 plus years. And it's like, he had to be taken aside and said, listen, man, you're like, we get it, man. You got a little bit of power. You're middle management, but you're going about this the wrong way. Like the people that have been here for 20 plus years, they're going to get the job done. The only thing they don't want is to be hassled. Like trust in their ability to get their job done because they've been doing it for 20 years. Like there's a reason why they're here. For this long, right? It's the ones that are inexperienced that you should probably be keeping an eye on, right? And he was kind of like, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? And sure enough, man, he left the long timers alone, and all of a sudden he became a manager everybody liked and respected because you have to trust the right people, like you have to trust the right people to get the job done, and you leave those guys alone. It's the ones that you need to. That you need to keep an eye on, or the ones that you kind of need to motivate a little bit are the ones that have inexperience. And when it comes to this ball club, it's like, unfortunately the veterans aren't performing right now. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, some of these young guys are not rookies anymore. Right. So that's the biggest part. It's a collective, right? This team is not performing on a collective. And that's the thing. It's like, that's why you have to ask the question is, has Scott Service lost the entire locker room? Because if that's the case, it's like, there's no there's no need to keep prolonging the inevitable, because this thing is going to crash and burn. And what makes me fearful is, let's say Jerry Dipoto goes out and actually gets talent. You know what I mean? Like, are they coming into a volatile situation? And all of a sudden they don't perform.
And I think you're trying to say that best case scenario, we could bring in Vlad Jr., we could bring in Bo Bichette, we could bring in Luis Robert Jr. Let's just say hypothetically.
Are they coming into a toxic environment? Are they coming into a toxic environment that there's no saving it?
And we can all agree that personnel moves have to be made, but at the same time, but at least in the meantime, this situation can easily be salvaged. Like, sometimes some of these games that we've had, and Kevin Kirby, I don't know how to read a fly ball either, but I guess I'm watching it on TV, so it's a little bit different. But what I'm saying is like, this is a salvageable situation. Like, some of these decisions where the Mariners lost, some of it came down to one bad decision. And because of that one bad decision, they lost the game. So, like, just like last season, Mariners were maybe one or two good decisions away, or not, or at least an average situation, an average choice of things to be done. They were just one away from making the playoffs on that. I mean, it's not like, the pitching was good. Like, we can say the pitching did fantastic. They more than upheld what they needed to do. George Kirby was absolutely, I'm not saying he was dominant, but he was really good.
Well, that team collapsed in September. I don't think there was any saving.
No, but for today, like, George Kirby upheld his duties. He did what he could. And then you had Austin Voth actually pitched pretty well. Snyder pitched well. Bauman pitched actually pretty good. But the least of the problems was, the thing that bothered us, and we can agree with it, was watching Julio Rodriguez just casually jogging towards a base hit. Like, he didn't even make a run for it. And happened both times. And I think if Julio at least sprinted it, at least half-assed it, I think this game is still going to extra innings.
Yeah,
at least
you might be right. You might be right. There's not really much to say about this game. From start to finish, it looked uninspiring. It didn't look like there was any motivation or fire. Maybe they were trying, and it just nothing seems to work. But the one thing you need is a solid performance to stop the bleeding, and then you need some continuity and getting back in the win column. This has the look of an extended losing streak written all over it, and the wheels have already been in motion off that road trip. You get back where you play, offensively you're not that great at home, but you seem to play well at home, and you lose 2 out of 3 to Minnesota. Okay, that's fine. Minnesota came in playing red hot, but you get a Baltimore team that literally has kind of been mediocre for the last 10, and then they shut you down. They shut you down cold. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, man. But to answer Kevin Kirby, how soon do you think they make a trade? And I don't think we're going to see anything until we get about a week out from the deadline. I don't see any reinforcements coming any time before the All-Star break.
I don't even think, I'm foreseeing another 2003. That is what exactly I'm seeing. And it's even worse than 2003, because 2003, they had a division lead going to that deadline. And the Mariners, by that deadline, Houston may be running away with that division by then. Yes, they lost France, but that doesn't mean that's not going to make or break the season for them. They can still salvage that.
Different 2003, different ownership, different era. But I'll say this, and I'll stick by this: they can't do nothing. Doing nothing and not making any type of trade, or not trying to improve by any stretch. You're going to You're going to lose your clubhouse, number one. And you might as well, if you're John Stanton, you might as well just fire your entire front office. If they do nothing, they do not win the division this year, and they do not make the playoffs.
And looks like we got Scott Service on the air right now. So let's take a look and see if he is on your end. We should probably take a look and see what he's saying. He's saying that the pitching did very well. I mean, that's obvious. There's not really much to talk about George Kirby anyway, because this game was out of his control, unfortunately.
Yeah, he pitched well.
No chance. I give Cal a ton of credit. Works himself into a good count.
Yeah, we got to give Cal Raleigh credit no matter what, because he's just burned out.
Baltimore's got a good club. We know that. These games are going to be tight. You got to figure out a way to get the big hit late, and that's been a struggle for us lately.
Yeah, he's saying the very obvious, but he's not executing that.
How soon do you think Houston will take first place? About another week.
I think could happen by the end of this week.
Right now, I would overpay for an offensive player. Would you agree? 100% yes. Like every prospect is available to upgrade this ball club. Like you have to understand the difference between, if you were in a rebuilding mode, obviously you would want to keep your prospects and try to get better on the minor league level. But for a team that's in first place, and this division is very winnable in a wide open American League. You like if somebody comes over the top and says, "Hey, man, I'll give you Vlad Jr., a backup catcher, and a bullpen arm for some prospects." Yeah, 100%. You do it.
All Scott Service is saying right now, he's like, "Oh yeah, these things happen. We just have to get the big hit." It's like, but that's your responsibility to inspire or hold these people accountable to do that.
Yeah,
and he said that it'll turn. Not with how this is going.
I mean, it will. I mean, baseball is ebbs and flows, and what's not working now will eventually work. But that being said, it's like you banked a 10-game lead for a reason, so you can withstand these type of slumps. But eventually, you have to play your way out of it.
It's almost like there's no point of him taking these questions. Like he says the same thing.
Why is Rojas being pitch hit? Because I think Baltimore brought in a lefty.
And that's where he's overthinking that whole lefty-righty matchup. Like I actually met someone who's actually aspiring to be part of Root Sports. Like she wants to be part of Root Sports, and she told me that Scott Service overplays the lefty-righty matchup. Like if the guy is good enough, you just trust him to see if he can, or at least get repetition on those matchups too. At least get practice out of it, even if it's not good.
Yeah, people say, Kevin Kirby says people say tough stretches, but we've been bad for 3 weeks. Yeah, Texas was terrible last year in the second half. Texas was not good in the second half. As a matter of fact, the Mariners were able to erase quite a bit of ground because Texas was bad for long stretches in the second half. But come September, 3 weeks before the playoffs, they figured out and caught fire right when they needed to. So they granted different lineup. I understand, but that's baseball. You're going to endure tough stretches. It's going to happen. That's why the Mariners banked a 10-game lead, so they can withstand these type of bad stretches.
The media people are not even asking the right questions either. That's the worst frustrating part. Like a question that really should be asked is what was up with Julio's lack of hustle on those 2 base hits that caused the 2 runs? That's someone should be asking that.
No, what they should be asking is like, hey, like seriously, are you going to bench Julio? Like maybe sitting him down for a couple of days so it works as accountability so he can actually feel that failure. So he understands what failing feels like, and that actually will motivate people. Like, would you be willing to bench Julio for a few games so he gets the point?
I mean, it's standard practice to do that at work. If someone's not playing up to their level, there's write-ups. You don't get to show up to work unpaid for a couple days or so, and depending who the person is in that personnel, they will respond.
Yeah,
like I've been there before too. Like I have drove managers nuts where to the point like, hey, you need a couple days to cool off. And then once I was given a couple days to cool off, I was a changed man for that. I was like, okay, yeah. And I saw the numbers going down. Like they even quote benched me, and I was like the best performer, but because of other things, basically I'm a hothead. Because of my hot-headedness, they're like, I don't care if you're the best. You still need a couple days to cool off, man.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. It's like,
man, and look at the people saying out there. I think some people are finally saying that Scott Service needs to go. Like maybe it's starting to become a more mainstream thing.
I've never been the whole, like they're not going to send Julio down, but you can.
No, you can't send down Julio to the minors.
That'll never happen. He's too high profile. Plus, they gave him the ridiculous contract, and they did. But you can bench him for a couple days and just say, "Hey, listen, dude, you're not going to play until you actually start being Julio Rodriguez, and so it's on you to figure it out." But we're holding you accountable, and you're going to be sitting for a few days, and maybe we take a couple L's, but you need to feel what failure feels like, because what he's been doing is a complete failure. Because we're in July now, right? Like the thing that I didn't mind about Julio in his first 2 seasons was he figured it out and went on second half tears in his first 2 seasons. He played himself into an MVP conversation, right? Because his natural ability on the pull side, he was able to hit home runs, he was able to hit doubles, and he was able just to catch fire and be productive. This year, he had the slow start, but you at least would see signs that he was going to catch up to certain pitches and he was going to turn on certain pitches, and you're not even seeing that. And it's like, where is the sign of Julio Rodriguez, of what we expect from Julio? And like I'm at that point where, Scott Service has the ability to do it. And it's like, you're running Mitch Haniger out there, and it's evident, like, yeah, granted that they've kind of phased Mitch out a little bit, but they still bring Mitch up in certain situations where he should not even see a batter's box. Continuously using Dom Canzone. Now, granted, your minor league, your guys in AAA, guys like Cade Marlowe or guys like Jonathan Clase may or may not have the ability to play, but running Dom Canzone out there when he's been nothing but a black hole. You're continuing to run guys out there that literally cannot put bat to ball. It's a problem.
It is a big problem, and Mariners and us Mariner fans, we had high expectations for Dom Canzone. We were hoping that he could actually make up for the loss of Jared Kelenic, but if anything,
I never believed in Dom Canzone.
You never did.
No, I looked at him like I looked at everything that every Mariner outfielder that we drafted in the Jerry Dipoto era, which is like their quad A guys. You know what I mean?
Taylor Trammell, who they got out of with the Ty France trade.
Yep. Jared Kelenic, Taylor Trammell, Cade Marlowe, guys that had the exact same profile in the minor leagues where, they look good in the minors, but when they get to Seattle, they just can't perform. And it's like, I looked at Dom Canzone as just another one of those guys. And it's like, you can talk to me about batted ball data and, he, like when he gets his pitch, he drives it. It's like, yeah, like when he gets his pitch, but when,
and if he even executes on that pitch,
but it's like, well, wait a second. Yeah. It's like, that's exactly like when maybe he gets his pitch once a week, maybe, but he routinely does not get his pitch at all.
Yeah. His mechanics are just gone.
And what's funny is it's like the start Locklear and start Bliss people. And it's like, listen, man, Ryan Bliss is just slightly below league average, which I guess is better than Polanco, but it's not like Ryan Bliss is going to turn this lineup around. And it's not like Ty Locklear is going to I like Ty Locklear in the short period of time that he played, but is that going to help you turn around this lineup? Also, for those fans that want to see Julio move down and JP move down, it's like, who are you going to replace him in the lineup, man? Like, who legitimately can bat lead off and who can legitimately bat third right now? And the answer is nobody. So it's like, it's unfortunate the Mariners are in this situation, but again, they're going to have to be the ones that play themselves out of this. They're the ones that got themselves into this hole. Now they got to play out of it, and maybe it's one of those type of wins we got versus Minnesota. That little dunker that Cal Raleigh hit that enabled the winning run to come home. Something
Out
like
of
that.
pure fluke and luck, yeah.
Yeah, that turns it around.
And Kevin Kirby, who on the current roster could you see being moved? Like, to get value, probably nothing, nobody, unless they're in a package deal with prospects.
I know that Tampa Bay likes Dom Canzone, and I know that there is value for Ty France, because the one thing that people look at Ty France is they don't look at what he's doing now. They look at the fact that just literally 2 years ago he was an all-star, and he's still very young. Like, in that system, they might be able to fix his problem. So yeah, but you're right though. But you're absolutely right though. It would be packaging.
It'd be pennies on the dollar kind of trade if we trade those guys with the values that they don't have, and some of those teams.
You would have to move them with prospects, but it depends on what you're getting back.
Like, if that's what it takes to get the Pete Alonsos, the Vlad Juniors, or Dante or Bo Bichette, maybe. Let's see. It says trade Ty to Boston, get back Tyler O'Neill.
Boston has no use for Ty France because they have Tristan Cassis at first base, who's much better than Ty France. Luke Raley is the best player on the team right now, and Cal has been clutch. Yeah, he's been clutch, but like overall, he's very inconsistent.
He's a 214 hitter, and the fact that he's the leading home run guy really says a lot about this team. And like the leaders of the home runs, not saying I'm saying everyone should be blasting home runs because they live and die by home runs anyway, is Julio Rodriguez should be the leader of that because he does have the talent to do that.
He should be rounding 20 right now.
He should, like the way he was talking this season, you thought he was going to not only be a shoo-in for the home run derby, but we would have thought that he would have been touching at least 25 with the way he was talking about himself.
Yeah, like by this time he should be approaching 20 or at least running 20.
But the fact that he won't even break 10 by the All-Star break is very concerning. Like, he may not even break 20 by the end of the season, and it's really tough to bank on like him having another August 2023 month. I can't bank on that. And also people are saying like, oh, but the Mariners have a very easy schedule, but I still can't bank on that. Like, here's what we've got Toronto. Yeah, they're bad, but they're still, with the Toronto fans flying in there, they're still going to make it a difficult series. And they still got talent of Bo Bichette and Vlad Jr. You're going on the road against San Diego. Granted, they're not leading the division, but that's still going to be a tough game. Yeah, you got the Angels, but again, with the whole play down the competition, even though they're disastrous, you gotta get at least 3 out of 4 on that one.
Yeah, also, Tyler O'Neill, yeah, that sounds good, but Boston's 45 and 39 in one game out of the wild card. They're not trading Tyler O'Neill. After that, you got Houston, you got LA after that, Chicago and Boston. But again, like, I cannot depend on a quote easy schedule to turn this thing around. Yancey and Paredes look nice as well too. But in order to get Paredes, you're going to have to give up something of value. I know the name Randy Rosarina has been floated out there, except he's kind of had a bad year. And why would Ichiro or Edgar help this team?
I mean, Edgar already left the team.
Yeah, it's like no.
I think he left for a reason, because he was probably burned out.
I would say that in order to get this team back to where it is, they need to stop filling these players' heads with all these advanced analytics about how if you take more pitches, maybe you'll see more fastballs, and to keep it simple, man. That just
overcomplicates things.
Yeah, right. It's like, listen, the best thing you can do going up to the plate is not be thinking about anything except for getting on base. Period, point blank. And it literally it's as simple as, hey man, if that pitch looks good, I'm gonna swing at it, and if it's not, I'm not. The overcomplicating at bats is on one hand, I appreciate the Mariners and their advanced analytics and how they run things, but it also has its drawbacks if you're giving your players far too much information for them to process, and it also comes in between them and being able to perform.
And don't forget baseball,
because they're going to worry about their numbers, and you can't have them worrying about anything else except for getting on base. Like that should be
and like I would think because baseball's a heavily mental sport, the fact that you're just going to throw them even more information just makes it even more overwhelming and uninspiring.
Yeah, but the other thing, the idea that having Ichiro and Edgar help them, it's like, dude, remember Ted Williams, who was the greatest hitter, probably the greatest pure hitter in the game of baseball ever, was a manager, and he was a terrible manager because some guys don't have that ability to connect as a manager from player to manager because they hold they hold their players up to their high lofty standards, and when they don't, it's a problem. Yeah. Yandy and Brady's, could you see that?
Yeah, maybe. It just depends on what
it all depends on what Tampa's asking price is.
Ted Williams was a manager of the Senators and Rangers from 69 to 72, and he had a 273, 364 record.
Yeah. Guys like, I remember what's his ass? What's his name? Rogers Hornsby was also another great hitter who ended up being a mediocre manager because he's again, it's the ability to humble yourself enough to teach, because coaching is also teaching, right? So you want to convey a message in the best possible way, and that's the other thing, right? That's the other thing I question about Scott Service, is whether he's a good teacher of the game of baseball.
I don't think he is, and the thing was that many people don't remember is Scott Service. Not only did he had managerial experience, he never did, or even coaching experience per se. Right. He was also a front office. He was an assistant GM to Jerry Dipoto, and I still think that there is still a role. Like, I'm not saying like completely fire his ass and completely never come back to the Mariners. There are still things he can do with the Mariners. He can still be a head scout. He can be a scouting director. He can do those things effectively because he knows eye for talent. He does know that very well because he is working with Jerry Dipoto and Justin Hollander on that kind of stuff. But he just can't lead. But he can do other things, and it doesn't have to be just managing a team.
Would you rather trade Miller or Wu? I would be.
I would rather trade Miller.
I would be open to either or. It all depends on what. It all depends on who we're trading him to and what we're getting back in return. I think it would be easy to replace somebody in the rotation. I mean, we do have Emerson Hancock, and it's not like we can't go out and find a fifth starter to fill that role.
Let's start another brawl. But I don't think we necessarily have the characters to even do that anymore. That's the problem.
Right.
And you don't want Julio to start a fight. You'd rather, and Jesse Winker was the perfect guy to do that. Let's have a brawl, I guess. Get hit and then just charge the mound. Except the thing was, the only reason why it was more warranted when Jesse Winker charged the mound was because the Angels were literally gunning for our heads like a week, like a couple weeks before or so, like maybe a month before. So there was already like a cause for it to happen. Like, you're not going to have something where like Richie Sexson charged the mound for basically no reason. Now, granted, that was because Felix pitched up and in against, I think he hit a guy against Texas, and then Richie thought that he was going to get hit, even though the pitch didn't even get close to him, and he still charged the mound. But that was more of a display of that this team sucks. I'm just going to take it out on someone else situation. So there's not really like a reason to charge the mound. And
let's go get Jesse Winker, huh? Okay.
He's on the Nationals, so no.
Yeah, but he's also having a very good year, and I would say that that would take a very huge set of stones for them to bring back Jesse Winker.
And I'm aware that, Steve, you got to get going because you just DM'd me, which, yeah, I definitely don't want to take up too much of your time, but this game got me very consumed. But the last statement we're going to go over, very good point, by the way. I think it's funny that people say we need to up the payroll. The Rays have the smallest payroll in MLB, still make the playoffs every year, has nothing to do with payroll. Look at the Padres, too. That's a good point because we even said it earlier that, yes, the Mariners have to get some talent, but if you don't have a good manager, it may not even matter. And we
Yeah,
can
I
even,
mean, look at the Padres. They're 46 and 43 currently right now, and I believe they're right there in the they're right there in the wild card chase. So I mean, yeah, look at the Padres. Last year was definitely an outlier year for the Padres, but they were the NLCS the year before. And the crazy thing is, it's like I'll say this for the final time. It's like, yes, spending money doesn't guarantee you a World Series. That is a factual statement. But every single year, when you look at the top 10 in payroll in baseball, what do they all have in common? They're playoff teams. They're
playoff teams.
And once you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. It's a dance. You want to get into the dance. And the more money that you spend to bring in quality players to surround your young talent with, which is the Mariners do not do. They always bring in aging veterans that are past their prime or right at the end of their prime, i.e. Eugenio Suarez, or guys like Jesse Winker that just didn't work out, or Adam Frazier, who, by the way, just had a bad year, who they should have brought back, or Colton Wong, who's past his prime, or Polanco, who's past his prime, or Mitch Haniger, who's past his prime.
Well
Garver,
past his prime.
Yeah, and Garver, who's probably past his prime. He's 33 too.
Well, that's past his prime.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like they just take the cheaper way out with their free agent signings because they can get them on a 1 or 2 year deal. They don't have to lock themselves in long term. That's fine, but if you're going to do that, then you should try to trade for some guys that are going to be around for a while that are very much in their prime. You know, not fringe guys like Jesse Winker. Yes, I realize.
And not like Colton Wong, not like who was the other AJ Pollock, who by the way the Mariners well overpaid for.
Like, by the way, there's a reason why I was clamoring for the Mariners to trade for Juan Soto this offseason. I realized he was only on a 1 year deal, but it changes the trajectory of your franchise. To bring in a dude like Juan Soto, who, by the way, in the midst of all the bullshit that's going on right now, he would be carrying this lineup right now. He would be carrying the lineup.
Him and Julio would be buds.
That's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, and you know what? And maybe it's different with a guy like Juan Soto in your lineup, and maybe they're not playing like shit because you have that one guy in the middle of your lineup that's going to be that guy. That's what the Mariners, they don't have that guy, right? And who knows what happens if the Mariners are in first place and they're up in first place by 15 games and everything is good and everybody's happy because the Mariners are consistently just playing good baseball. Maybe Juan Soto says, you know what? Seattle's a pretty cool place to play baseball, and maybe I'll think about re-signing long term.
Well, those are great points, but
they didn't want to do that because they didn't want to trade their prospects.
They didn't want
to. And now they're in a position where they have to. If they want to get to the playoffs, they're going to have to.
Imagine if they didn't hold on to Johnny Farmello for so long. Not saying they should have traded him, but he has a torn ACL, so that's already one less prospect that you can trade.
Right. But you know, guys like Harry Ford, guys like Cole Young, guys like Laz Montez. Yeah, man, I like those guys. But if you're telling me that I can get Vlad Jr.
or Bo Bichette, or at least Luis Robert Jr.
Yeah, you know, and then now Chicago, the Cubs might be a seller. Maybe even getting a guy like Cody Bellinger. You know what I mean?
They could have gotten without giving up Eric Swanson for Teoscar Hernandez.
Right. I'm just saying it's like to get better players than that you have right now. And if that means that, we'll probably hold on to Colt Emerson, cool. But if it means
Belling's less than fine,
yeah, you get what I'm saying. But it's like guys like Harry Ford who they can replace, you know, because the Mariners do draft well and they sign international free agents, and they can replenish their farm system like that in one season. You know what I mean? It's like The idea that they're going to trade away their farm is ridiculous, and it's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna do it because I know you gotta go, but we're gonna cut this off, and I just want to say thank you very much for being on this show. Thanks for dealing with us, talking about Sonics. Thank you for being with us, going through this entire game. And honestly, the highlight of this game was us just pushing through it to cover the game for you guys, so you guys don't have to suffer as much as we do.
Tonight was bad.
It was bad. But again, that will do it for the rest of it. And I just want to say thank you very much for being here, and I'll keep you guys updated for another live show.
By the way, if I was the GM of the Mariners, we probably wouldn't be a 100-win team, but I'll tell you what we would do. We would have the most athletic, pure hitting team in the league. Dude, I can spot talent a mile away.
Paul Hahn says you guys should do this every Mariners game. I mean, yes, I agree with you, but the best way for me to do the best way, if you want that to happen, the best way to give us the ability and the time to do these games every single day is to not only here's what you got to do, Paul and everyone else. If you want us to do this, if you want us to do games every game, here's what you do. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, donate to my channel, use my promo code SeatGeek or Rooftop Sports, do any of those, and it will be the building stone for us to be able to do this full time. So if you want this to happen, it is all your moves. And tell everyone else about this channel too.
And until that, Reese Beast is right. Don't quit your day job. Until that point, I won't. So
yeah, but like again, if you guys want this to happen, so you don't have to hear Dave Sins going, "Here's a fly ball, giddy!" Oh, out. If you don't want to hear that anymore, you got to support our channel, and also support Steve Silver's channel too. But
do that.
But we're taking off because we gotta go, man. But everyone have a good night and go Mariners.
Go Mariners.